Welcome back to the IMNerd podcast, guys. I'm your host, Freyway, and I'm here with my co-host, Kenny. Today, we have a special guest. We have my friend Cam, who is...
Say his name right.
The Amazing Spider Cam?
The Amazing
Spider there you go.
Cam.
Okay, all right. Yeah, Cam, how would you like to be referred to as for people who are going to, I guess, find you on social media and stuff like that?
It's Amazing Spider Cam. That's all you really need.
Okay. All right, that works. Yeah, so we're going to be talking about Spider-Man No Way Home, which just came out this past weekend, and all of us saw it. I saw it 3 times. Kenny and I saw it last night at 10:45. That was the last time I saw it. And Cam, I'm sure you saw it probably first day as well, or close to it.
I saw it Friday. I called out of work and was I made up some excuse. I'm pretty sure none of my coworkers were watching, so I could just tell the truth with no need to lie.
Yeah.
But I saw that noon.
Tell the truth and shame the devil. Yeah, so we all saw Spider-Man. This is going to be a full discussion on the movie, so there will be spoilers. So if you have not seen the movie, please exit now unless you do not give a fuck about spoilers, because I'm not going to move around talking about every single thing that happens in the movie. Literally everything is going to be discussed. So be prepared for that. How do we want to even kick this off? In fact, I know what I want to do. I am Green Goblin / Willem Dafoe. Kenny, who are you?
I am
trash, apparently.
I'm Wong.
Sure, you're Wong, Cam.
Wong's the homie.
Give me Tobey Maguire Spider-Man.
Tobey Maguire?
I'm going to be the old dirty Spider-Man.
Not the old dirty Spider, the youth pastor?
The youth pastor with the back problems.
So
yes.
This movie was fucking phenomenal. It was literally, for me, top 3 Marvel movies I've ever seen. I have it up there with Infinity War and Endgame. Those are my top 2. And I like Winter Soldier a lot. I think Civil War is pretty decent. But as far as the S tier of Marvel movies, I think Endgame, Infinity War, and now No Way Home are the 3 S tier Spider-Man. Well, not Spider-Man movies. Damn, look at me already calling all of them Spider-Man movies. But I think that they're S tier. I have Infinity War as number 1 personally, just because I think that movie is the most insane thing that I've seen, from start to finish. As a whole, that movie is just outrageous. And then Endgame, the last 30 minutes of it, I always talk about how it has the best cinematics I've ever seen in anything ever. The last 30 minutes of Endgame is the best thing I've ever seen cinematically in my life, period. Nothing has compared to it. Nothing in Game of Thrones, nothing in any other genre has compared to the last 30 minutes of Endgame. And then No Way Home, because of the nostalgia and the reveals and just the fan service, the storyline, the plot, the action, the choreography, the music, everything, everything, the death, everything about that.
Gotta be one of the best fan service movies I've ever seen.
Yes.
The way they pulled off fan service is fucking crazy. And it didn't feel cheesy or forced.
No, it didn't. It was very good. Cam, what do you have this ranked in all the Marvel movies? Where do you have No Way Home?
It's hard because I think Infinity War is obviously number 1.
Yeah.
It's top 5. It's top 5. I don't have the orders down packed. I need to probably see the movie one more time.
Yeah.
But it's up there with the Winter Soldier and Civil War. And now we're at a point with MCU. It's just it's hard to make a top 5, really. But
they're starting to get a lot better. They're starting to. I always say that the MCU started to find their stride at Winter Soldier. All the movies before Winter Soldier are kind of trash, but after Winter Soldier, they really started to find their stride.
Yeah, Winter Soldier is crazy.
Are we going to get canceled if we don't include Black Panther in top 5? Or
I don't have Black Panther in top 5 because I find Michael B. Jordan to be a fucking terrible actor. So
I like Black Panther, but I definitely wouldn't put it in top 5.
Yeah, I think my top 5 would be the 3 already named, Winter Soldier, and probably Civil War for me, or Thor Ragnarok. One of those 2, but that Black Panther is not my top 5. Maybe top 10, sure, I guess. I probably even like the other Spider-Man movies that Tom Holland did before I liked Black Panther, honestly. I don't know. I'm not a big fan of the Black Panther movie because I think the villain, I just did not like that villain, or whatever you want to call him.
And I know nobody else likes this movie, but I like Age of Ultron more than Black Panther. But I think Age of Ultron is sick.
Okay, you are trying to get canceled.
I don't care. Ultron's voice actor was top fucking tier.
I feel like
when he started doing the strings thing, no. Ultron, I know everybody hates that movie, but Age of Ultron's actually fire. I don't care what anybody says.
Yeah, I feel like
it's fire.
It,
But
in my top five, Iron Man 1, and I know I'm probably gonna might get heat for this, but Iron Man 1 is just.
I think that's fair though. It's the only reason the MCU exists.
Yeah, that's not like a crazy. I don't think that's a crazy take. Yeah, I don't think that's like the craziest shit I've ever heard.
Kenny's gonna get canceled again because Blade started the MCU with black people, so that's we're already missing out.
No, the current Marvel MCU is all Iron Man. He's the main character.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah, people need to stop tripping. So, okay. This movie starts off, No Way Home, starts off with the reveal that Spider-Man is Peter Parker. Peter Parker is Spider-Man. Mysterio, he died. He went out basically sacrificing himself to ruin Spider-Man's life. And it was successful. I want to say the first 20 minutes of this movie just focuses around the breakout of this reveal and how it impacts not only Peter, but everyone around him that he cares about is incredibly impacted by the fact that he is revealed to be Spider-Man. And, the Daily Bugle is fucking throwing dirt on his name every single day, which I thought was a fantastic use of that throughout the movie to kind of narrate.
And, oh man, Alex Jones, all right. He was Alex Jones so hard.
Yeah, a big hater. So like, it immediately was revealed to everybody who he is, and then he kind of runs away to his house, and then they decide that they can't stay there anymore. He gets a lawyer. The lawyer happens to be fucking Daredevil, which was a really cool cameo, just out of nowhere.
That was so sick.
Just a really random,
so sick.
Amazing
they got the
cameo.
one from Netflix.
Yes, just an amazing cameo from the best Daredevil that we've ever seen. I also like seeing him in the MCU like that. Like, that was pretty cool.
We know, has there been any announcements or confirmations? Are they going to add the Netflix Marvel universe? Are they going to fuse together? Are they going to be are they going to bring that in?
It's just Daredevil so far.
Man, that'd be pretty cool if they actually added Luke Cage, Daredevil, what's the bitch's name? Jessica Jones, and they can leave Iron Fist out. I thought his show was whack.
You got Shang-Chi. Why we need Iron Fist?
We don't need Iron Fist.
Shang-Chi is definitely fire. Yeah, so he gets a lawyer. The lawyer pretty much gets him out of normal law issues, but then he explains to him, like, the court of public opinion is a whole different thing. There's a lot of sentiment for Mysterio. A lot of people are Mysterio simps, and they believe that Mysterio was right. Spider-Man is a problem. Everywhere he goes, disaster. Oh,
you just reminded me. I changed it. I'm not Wong. I'm Hannibal Buress. That was mine.
Just randomly in the school when goes.
The one scene with Hannibal Buress was so. He was like, "You did it. You did it." Mysterio was right. Like,
he's just standing there next to the shrine talking trash. Yeah, he gets the they all have this idea that they want to go to MIT. It's Peter, MJ, and his annoying fucking friend. And they decide that they want to go to MIT and all be together. So I guess the big part of the movie, like after the first 20 minutes are over, and it's that whole, the only time in my life that was fine was when everybody that I wanted to know knew, and that lasted for exactly 1 week, and now the whole world knows, and it's kind of an issue. But they have this idea they want to go to MIT. MIT rejects them because, the whole Spider-Man fiasco. So now Peter's all sulking about the fact that he's ruined all his friends' lives and everyone's life. Like, his aunt had to move into a fucking bunker, basically. Everyone's been screwed over in some way. And he goes to Doctor Strange, gets the spell done. The spell is about forgetting that, everyone who knows that he's Spider-Man. And then, as Doctor Strange says, it's pretty much like, nice knowing you. He's like, wait, what? And then he starts adding people onto the list of who he wants to keep their memories, like his aunt, Ned, his girlfriend. And then he starts adding more. He starts adding Happy to it. And then the spell fucking gets out of hand. And after that, he's like, all right, don't ever try to change my spell. I told you not to do that. And this is all because your college life pretty much got ruined, or like your life got ruined. You don't like your life got messy. Why didn't you just talk to the admissions office? And Spider-Man didn't realize that he could do that. And then
that was so funny. He was like, I get it. He was, you tried your best. You went and talked to them. And he was like, wait, what do you mean? I can do that?
Yeah.
He was like,
I can do that.
Yeah, I thought it was really funny. The scene, one of the scenes where the whole theater laughs is he goes, you had me try to brainwash the entire world without even giving them a call to see if you can change their decision. And he was like, well, when you put it like that, and then next thing you know, like, it flips scene and he's just outside of Bleecher Street and the door slams on his face. I thought that was great. But then, yeah, he goes to meet the person who can get him into MIT, is like the dean or whatever she is, like the principal or something. And that's when like the movie takes off. The other cool things that were real before that was he thought that Nick Fury was involved in Far From Home. And you get like this little quick piece where the FBI agent is like, Nick Fury hasn't been on Earth in a year. Like he has not been. And we know that Nick Fury is a Skrull, the one that has been impersonating him. So I thought that was a pretty cool little thing in there. And I don't know. I really like when the MCU, you need to pretty much see everything to kind of get all the little tidbits that they throw out, stuff like that.
I said it before. You gotta. Infinity War is worth it. I think it's such a good movie that it's worth watching all of the Marvel movies just to see that, even if you don't like them all.
Yeah.
'Cause half of them aren't that good, but they're worth watching just to understand Infinity War. Also, I like the scene when they're telling them to get a lawyer. They're lawyer, because that's just real. People don't get lawyers. I don't understand. Listen. If you get in trouble, even if you're innocent, get a fucking lawyer. Don't let them play you.
Yeah, never let them play you like that. So that go ahead. What were you gonna say, Kim?
Now I was gonna say the interesting thing about the Spider-Man movies, MCU movies in general, is like the timelines and how short or how far things are going on. Like I believe Homecoming was 2 months after Civil War, and then now this was, I think, like 8 months after Endgame, going into Far From Home, and then Far From Home, and then No Way Home was right after Far From Home.
Yeah,
so
like
just
literally.
like he had no breaks from this. He just going in and just like coming home and just like, all right, I'm fucked. So
yeah, immediately
go into this.
On that note, like on Far From Home, something I really liked was how that movie started, where they addressed everybody coming back from the snap, and that was after Endgame. When they had the really cheesy memorial for Tony Stark, it felt so authentic to like a high school memorial. They had that cheesy ass music on and everything. Like I think the way Far From Home handled the post Endgame stuff was really, really interesting.
Yeah, we talked about this before, but I really like how all of the Marvel content that has come out post Endgame has shown different perspectives of the post snap.
Yeah.
WandaVision had that moment where you got to see how people actually came back. And if I'm not mistaken, that is the only Marvel content that showed exactly how it looked when people came back after the 5 years. That episode 4 of WandaVision. Like, I don't know if I've seen people come back in any other thing post Endgame.
The only one I can think of is Far From Home, where they show I think it's like a video of a basketball game. And then as they're playing a basketball game in high school, people just start appearing in the bleachers and appearing on the court.
Okay, yeah. And WandaVision is really chaotic. I don't remember how it looked in Far From Home because I haven't seen that one in a while. But yeah, in WandaVision episode 4, I believe it is, that is the opening of that. So that scene really showed how chaotic it is to have billions of humans just repopulate the earth out of nowhere.
Before we go on to the next part of No Way Home, I want to say that the whole intro to this movie is why I really like how long the movie was. The movie was 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
And first of all, it didn't feel like 2.5 hours when I watched the whole thing. But second of all, it needed that space in order to properly pace the movie, because I think the movie was super well paced. And that intro part, that's one of the first things that probably could have got cut if they wanted to force that movie to be like an hour, 50 minutes, right?
Yeah.
Like they would have really sped that up and not given you time to really settle with what he's going through and what he's dealing with.
Yeah, no, I do like the first 20 minutes. I do think that it's necessary. I also like that it does pick up immediately after. You also know that it's around after Halloween, like the time period. I believe there was a comment made by Michelle Jones. Her boss says something about taking down the Halloween decoration. So you know it's in between like Christmas and Halloween when this movie's taking place. And I think like close to the end of it, it's like actual Christmas time. But yeah, so we know the exact like season that it is, the amount of months that have passed pretty much since Endgame and everything and Far From Home. But go ahead.
I wanted to ask, you just said the Michelle Jones things. I wanted to ask Cam real quick, because if anybody doesn't know, he's the Spider-Man expert. Is Michelle Jones and Ned, Peter Parker's best friend in this, are they real characters in the comics, or are they made up for the MCU?
Well, Ned Leeds is the original Hobgoblin. So that's why
shit.
So the little Easter egg is like, my best friend was my villain, and that's a little funny if you knew Ned Leeds was the original Hobgoblin. And that's why, well, Peter, I'll always be your best friend. I'll never become your your villain and stuff like that. So that was a little a little chuckle right there.
Me and Fraser were talking about that after the movie, like Ned's going to become a villain.
That's what I said to Kenny. I was like, yo, I have this theory. When he said that shit, it just was so pointed. And I'm like, they wouldn't just waste, I feel like, a whole scene where he slides up on Tobey Maguire making the goo for the Green Goblin. He's like, hey, do you have a best friend? And he's like, I did. He's like, did? And he's like, yeah, he died in my arms after trying to kill me.
Yeah.
And then he slides his chair away. He's all terrified and shit. So now that you said that, it's 100% confirmed that Ned is going to be a villain. I really liked how they did Ned in this movie. They made him, he has the magical ability, which at first in the movie, it seemed like it was just a rant when he first brought it up. Like, I have this tingle in my hand. My grandmom or whoever, my aunt told me that, like, I'm magical and all this other stuff. And he says, like, go see your physician. They kind of just, like, discarded. But then come to find out, it's real, that he is magical in some way. He opened up a portal. Doctor Strange was impressed by that. And the whole concept of him becoming a villain is really cool because I think it can only happen because of the memory wipe at the end.
Yeah.
Like I like that the memory wipe sets up so many things. It sets up, so freshman year I heard is like rumored to be the next movie, right? Like the next part of the next trilogy, I guess, for Spider-Man is freshman year. And he's going to get close to MJ. Like, he's going to go to MIT. He's going to have to get close to her again and get her affection again, for like make her fall in love with him again. But the other side of that is Ned and him are no longer best friends. So
that's gonna be heartbreaking.
Maybe this time Ned won't like him as a person somehow. Like, maybe they will not mesh, the person that he is now, because Peter Parker has changed a lot since Homecoming. Like, he's been through a lot of things. He's lost Tony Stark. He's lost Aunt May, which is obviously really big. And there's a chance that the person that he is now is no longer malleable with, like, who Ned is post memory wipe. So I don't know how exactly they're going to do the deterioration of their friendship, like post the wipe, but I am interested to see like how he becomes a goblin or the hobgoblin.
If he fucked
I mean, we know he's gonna get MJ back because she kept the necklace on post memory wipe from Far From Home.
Okay.
The Black Dahlia necklace, so she didn't take it off. So I mean, I guess there's just a chance. That's a talking point to have some hope that he's gonna get her back.
And he's already completing her sentences, which is always a great way to get somebody.
She seemed interested at the end. Like, she already seemed like she felt like there was a connection or whatever.
Yeah, you could feel like, they definitely gave that vibe.
Whereas Ned was just a big chilling on his phone.
Ned did not care about him at all. I'm so interested to see how that goes. But okay, so after the spell goes corrupt, he goes talk to the MIT lady, and this is when the movie really starts. And I love how it comes out of fucking nowhere and like kind of a scene that you don't really expect. And even if you've seen the trailer, when I was watching it, I kind of forgot that they showed the bridge with Doc Ock. So when I'm watching it and his spider sense randomly goes off, great use of the spider sense, by the way. Spider sense randomly goes off as he's like mid-sentence with the dean or whatever of admissions. He jumps on top of the car and then a lady runs by. He's like, why are you running? And then all of the earthquakes start happening and Doc Ock comes up. He's like, Peters, where's my machine? He's like, do I know you? And he's like, you want to play games? How about catch? And he throws 2 cars at this man. And Doc Ock starts fucking him up. And this is where you see Spider-Man's durability, which I really, really love how they show Spider-Man can take a lot of hits and like crazy hits. He hits him with one of those cement hollow cylinder things that you see like on the side of the road during construction sites. He slams him up against a car with one of those, and Spider-Man just keeps on running forward. Like he's hurt by it, but not like, I feel like that would kill pretty much anyone else. And this man just like gets hit, smashed up against the car with that, and keeps on running forward. He gets thrown through a traffic sign, thrown into a UPS truck, gets up again, literally gets a car thrown at him. Like, all types of shit happened to this guy, and he's just fine for the most part. Like, he's honestly not even that hurt. It's absurd to me how durable Spider-Man is.
He gets I love how because he does a little wiggle when he gets dinged against the car. He's like, ugh. And then he just gets up and keeps running. Yeah, like the little ding wiggle, and then he keeps it moving. But Doc Ock's, first of all, everybody already said this, but good on fucking Marvel for just getting all of those actors back.
Yes,
seeing Doc Ock come back once again, nostalgia, but it was fan service done right. Like the fact that they took all of those old movies. These are all properties that were not connected to what current Marvel is. The fact that they were able to bring all those actors back, whatever licensings they had to do, and whatever amount of convincing they had to do, they did something that was never really done in movie history, which I got to give Marvel credit for that. I gave them credit for that in Infinity War, the original Avengers. they took steps. They made superhero movies a real genre where they used to just be a joke.
Yes.
The fact that they elevated that genre so fucking far, and they keep pushing it. Like what they did with this Spider-Man movie is some of the most impressive stuff that was done in my opinion, like any movie ever. Bringing
Yes.
back all those actors from different properties, different timelines or whatever, to be in one movie is fucking crazy.
Yes. Also, Molina, the guy who plays Dr. Octavius, is 68 years old in real life. So
they didn't have much time left to pull this off.
Oh shit. Yeah,
Like,
he looked great. He looked great.
He really did.
Yeah.
I would not guess he's a 70-year-old man.
No, I didn't expect him to be 68 years old, going on 70, and he looks fine. Everything about him, his acting's up to par. Like, there's nothing wrong. I mean, people now, they just take care of themselves better in today's age, and it really shows.
He doesn't eat McDonald's every day.
No, it also shows what Willem Dafoe is, who's also 60. He's 66, I believe. So both of the original villains from Spider-Man 1 and Spider-Man 2 are in their late 60s, and they both came back for this movie. There's reports that Willem Dafoe said that he's only coming back if he can do his own stunts and his own, like, the fight scenes in it. He wants to do all the choreography himself. If that is true, that's wild, especially considering what some of that choreography looked like.
Yeah.
Like, I would be surprised.
Also, I said this to you last night when the movie was done. I give them so much credit for the fact that they made it so that all of the actors got to act with their mask off. The fact that we got to see, like, the Green Goblin, but he didn't have the helmet on. The helmet's cool, but we got to see Willem Dafoe fucking act. And his faces and his acting throughout the movie was fucking great.
Yes.
Jamie Foxx, it was just cool to see him see his face and not just like an electric fucking thing.
Yeah, well, like what Electro actually wears in the cartoons, like when you see the boys, me and the boys about to crack a cold one or whatever.
Yeah.
When he has this, like, the star zap thing on his, like, that whole mask. I'm glad that they didn't actually incorporate that to cover his face, but they do show it at the same time. When he gets all supercharged, he does have the star kind of, but it's made out of energy.
Yeah.
As opposed to being a costume that looks probably not good in a live action. It would just look
every time they show the Marvel costumes, it's awful. Like in WandaVision,
yeah,
when they showed Wanda's and Vision's original Marvel costume, it's so bad in live action.
Yeah, it's not good.
Most of those designs were made in the '60s, one, and most of those writers are high on LSD, two, while making those characters. Your favorite comic book writers were high on LSD when making certain characters. I know Stanley was high on LSD when he made Hydro Man, and I was like, okay, that's pretty cool.
I don't even know who Hydro Man is.
Well, he was hydroplaning, all right.
Clearly.
He definitely hydroplaning, but the bridge scene in general, I thought it just, for him to come up, you see it in the trailers, says hi Peter and all that stuff, but you get the action behind it, like getting hit with the cars and the pillars and getting thrown everywhere.
I also like when the the spider arms come out of his back. He says, "Oh, we have competition."
That shit was sick.
And something that I forgot, because I didn't rewatch all the Spider-Man movies before this, so I just went on based on my memories of, watching them, I don't know, 15 years ago, however long it's been. But something that I liked they did, I forgot that Doc Ock was being controlled by his tentacles. So when he says the word "we" throughout the movie, you have to think of it as the tentacles being in control of him. So when he says "we have competition," that is cool, because later on when they're like trying to fix them and everything, and he shows them like, oh, like they're in control of him. I've noticed that he uses "we" a lot. Even when he questions, he's like, what happened to Norman in your universe? And he says, "We tire of your questions, boy."
Yeah.
That scene is kind of, at first I was like, what the fuck? Why is he speaking in that, like, plural? Why is he speaking in plural? But it makes a lot of sense when you consider that the tentacles are the ones that are actually in control of the AI from them. So that makes sense now when I went back and watched it the second time, and knowing that little fact after seeing it the first time, I'm like, oh yeah, the tentacles are in control of Doc Ock. That's why he's like that. So
right.
all of the times he says "we," it's the tentacles speaking, obviously plus him as well, but they're the ones in control. So that's really cool. Another thing, when you seen the trailers, they showed the nanotechnology on the tentacles, and everyone thought, including myself, or a lot of people thought that he or all of the villains broke into some kind of Stark Enterprises storeroom and stole a bunch of Stark technology, and they got buffed by it. Like, that's how we kind of thought that was how Electro got his power up, and maybe that's how Dr. Octavius got their power. But really,
he just stole that shit right off the suit.
He stole it off of Spider-Man on the bridge scene, and I thought that it was going to be a buff to him, but it was actually a nerf. So that kind of subverted.
Yeah, that shit was funny when he was like, "Whoop."
Yeah,
whoop,
I like that he starts giggling.
whoop.
The giggle was so
he's
good.
laughing his ass off.
He's like legit giggling at him as he's trying to kill him.
I thought it was a rant. I thought he was going to wrap him up and just like get rid of him. It's just like, oh, you got nanotech tentacles. It's like, well, I control your suit now, so.
Yeah, he's like new device pair, like a Bluetooth device, and he just paired with it and started. As he started like waving his hand, he's like, yeah, that was really really cool. And then now he has a great setup because the MIT lady is willing to put in a good word for him and Ned and MJ. So they're officially into MIT, basically. Like she says, as long as you keep your nose clean.
That part confused me at first. I thought the spell all the way. So when he got back and then she was like, "Oh, you're in MIT," I thought that the spell worked, and she in that moment forgot, like the whole world forgot who Peter Parker was, and then in that moment she just saw like, holy shit, Spider-Man's Peter Parker. You know what I'm? Because the way it was so weird, she was like, no, you're in it. No, you're great. You're in MIT, and he was like, wait, are you sure? This wasn't. And like the way she was acting, I thought, oh shit, everybody already forgot. Like, I thought the spell all the way worked that first time.
Okay, that's interesting. I didn't think about that at all. Because that is the first scene after the spell. So I understand why you thought that. When I first watched it, I didn't even think about the spell working.
Yeah.
Like at no point did I think about the spell working, but I see why you thought that. That's actually interesting. That's a good perspective that I didn't consider.
She was just acting weird. Like the way she was acting, I was like, man, it just seemed to me like she just had an epiphany. I was like, holy shit.
Okay. I see. Yeah. After she was like, Peter, you're a hero. And then she's like,
bitch, you didn't notice? I'm going to put
in a good word for you and your friends. He's like, well, this isn't about me. And she's like, no, I'm going to put in a good word for you and your friends. She says it twice.
Yeah.
And he's blown away by that because I like how selfless Peter is. He was not out to fix his own life
at all.
He was actually out to fix his friends' lives specifically, and I guess his like family. But he was not out, and that little exchange between him and the MIT admissions lady was a confirmation of that he's pretty selfless. But then it kind of goes on to after he beats Doc Ock, Green Goblin just comes in too. And when that bomb first rolled on the bridge, I was like, yo, this is chaotic as fuck already. It got chaotic quick. I thought that he was going to have to fight Green Goblin as well. And I just wasn't prepared for how chaotic that was going to be, even though I wanted it. But then immediately Doctor Strange just kind of teleports him, and then Doc Ock is nowhere to be found. Then he kind of is looking around. He's like, where the fuck am I at? And you see Doc Ock in a cage. Then the fucking lizard man kind of jumps out at him, and Doc Ock is like, don't touch anything, basically. Like, I just fought that damn thing. And he's bleeding on a part of, like, Doctor Strange is bleeding on the side of his face. He's been through some shit. And he explains
I like how they keep calling that thing a dinosaur. They keep calling Lizard Man a dinosaur.
Yeah.
And then, 20 or 30 minutes after he's revealed, they're all like, wait, you can talk?
He's like, also, I didn't know you could talk. Yeah, I like how Doctor Strange comes in. He basically sets up what the point of the movie is. You have to capture all of these multiversal beings and send them back home. Here's a device to do it. So he takes a part of the suit, gives it some magic, gives it back to him, shows him how it works. One shot, send them here. Then we're going to send them all back home. So that's like the premise is capture everybody that came over through the spell and then send them back to their verse, fix everything, done. And don't let Wong know. Because he was like...
Am I the only one that thought the Vulture was in this movie? For some reason, I thought the Vulture was going to be in this movie, and then he wasn't.
Well, what was the fate of the Vulture in Homecoming?
He went to prison.
Okay, so it's very possible.
Yeah, because he's in Morbius.
Yes, yeah, you do see him in Morbius, which also looks pretty cool. But yeah, we'll talk about that when it comes out. So yeah, they set up the premise of collecting everybody, and then Pete's like, "Yo, I need my friends." They come in. It's a whole rant with them. Scooby-Doo this shit, some funny stuff, but basically. The long of it is they get to use the basement, which is the actual laundry room. And they feel like some disturbance going on in an electric field. So he goes out. And now, Cam, you were talking about the suit that he used, which I didn't fully notice it the first time I watched it. Like, I noticed the suit was different, but I really stared at it a lot on my second and third watch. And where the fuck is that suit even from? Like, what was that suit? It was
the electrician suit.
But the way they said it in the lair, there was like, oh yeah, Norman military base, yeah, that's definitely going to be him. Like that would probably be the first place he targets.
Yeah.
So that's where I was confused. I was like, all right, he's going to go fight Green Goblin, but then again, it's going to be Jamie Foxx, Electro, and then Sandman was randomly there.
Yeah, Sandman was on his side.
Okay.
And I actually forgot why Sandman was on his side. Like, I remember at the end of Spider-Man 3, Sandman doesn't get killed, right? Like, Sandman didn't get killed in any kind of way in Spider-Man 3, right?
No, he doesn't. No, he doesn't get killed.
I don't remember.
Yeah, I'm like pretty sure when I watched Spider-Man 3, I mean, this is so long ago now, over a decade, but Sandman just kind of like goes away and he deals with Venom and he deals with like, obviously, Harry Osborn, but at no point does Sandman get killed. So when they were talking about how everyone pretty much died fighting Spider-Man, I was like, well, unless there's like an off-screen kill that happened with Sandman later on, which we can assume that, that's fine to assume that happened. But Sandman did not get killed by Spider-Man. And I don't remember what happened to Lizard Man at the end of the first Andrew Garfield Amazing Spider-Man movie either.
He got bucked on. I know that he tried to, I remember the fight was on top of the Empire State Building and he tried to do like the lizard gas. And then I remember they did the thing with like, yeah, they did the thing with like the cranes and like Andrew Garfield swung across the cranes of New York and like made it to him. But I don't remember exactly what happened at the end, but I remember they fought on top of the Empire State Building. He tried to turn the world into lizards.
So it doesn't sound like he died either on screen. But yeah, they were saying that Norman is a ghost, and if you saw him, then you definitely saw a ghost or whatever, or that's somebody else. So it kind of, because I know there was speculation, people had theories that it wasn't actually going to be Norman Osborn as Green Goblin before the movie came out, but it just ended up being him. Way. And then it kind of, after the whole, so Jamie Foxx appears as Electro, and he's all happy about the new power that he feels in this world. This world that they're in is, like, this verse is clearly a buff version of the other two verses, like the Andrew Garfield verse and the Tobey Maguire verse. It's just a blatant buff. Like, everything is more amped. They have magic here, like everything. It's just like a buffed version. Also, the way Doctor Strange pretty much dealt with Lizard Man, with like, he was bleeding on the side of his face, whatever, but he caught that villain really quick and had him completely under control in like no time.
Yeah, I mean, this Marvel, it's got magic.
Yeah,
go ahead.
And they have Iron Man.
Yeah, they have Iron Man. Yeah, they have superior technology. It's like, it's fucked up.
Yeah, everything about like the fabricator, the machine that they use to make all of the cures, it's clear that this verse is way ahead in everything.
I did not know an arc reactor was in that thing, by the way. When they showed it had an arc reactor, I was like, oh, that's not good.
It's very casual too. And you saw the way Jamie Foxx stared at that shit.
Yeah.
But yeah,
that's not good.
He ends up capturing Jamie Foxx, who was butt-ass naked for no apparent reason, and Sandman. They both get captured. So now you have...
That's how he gets the outfit, just because I know you said you didn't know. He looks at the electrician outfit on the side.
And then he appears in the thing, yeah. But wait, what do you mean that's how he gets the... Like, I know...
Because I think that's the same outfit. I don't think he changes I think that's just the outfit that he wears for the rest of the movie.
No, he gets a new outfit at the very end when he says, you like the new. And when he's floating in the air and in front of the Statue of Liberty, that's a completely different outfit than the one he had on with the... I
gotta have to see it again. I don't remember. I just assumed it was the same outfit.
Okay. Yeah, I know. Well, he definitely doesn't have that jacket on, that fucking firefighter looking jacket.
Yeah.
He definitely doesn't have that shit on. He's like, you like the new? It's like, what is going on? Like, why are you so black?
Listen, let him be him.
Jamie Foxx was so black in that movie. He was so overtly black. I love it.
Look, he was happy that he didn't have that dumbass gap tooth and the comb over. Yes. All right, he was like, "Who this verse?"
And that was mentioned.
Yeah, Lizard Man came right at him. Lizard Man came right at him. He
cleaned up in this verse.
He did.
You think he was like, all right, listen. When they came to him, they were like, all right, they told him the premise. He was like, I'm just letting y'all know right now. I'm coming this movie looking pretty. Like, y'all not giving me a gap tooth again.
Yeah, and a black guy with a comb over is wild. Can we be honest? Have you ever seen a black man with a comb over? Like, come on.
Not like that.
So the fact that was brought up, I'm glad. It was kind of like a little shot at Amazing Spider-Man 2, which was the worst Spider-Man movie by far to me. Like, I would rather watch Spider-Man 3 before I watch that movie again. I fucking hate that movie. And I think Electro is a terrible, terrible villain. Or at least, maybe not Electro's a terrible villain, but the script that they wrote for Electro and the cringy lines that they had Jamie Foxx deliver in Amazing Spider-Man 2 makes that the worst Spider-Man movie for me. Like, and it's not close. I will watch Spider-Man 3 times before I watch that movie again once. It's that bad. I hate that movie.
It's not the best movie, but I don't put it that. I don't hate it like that.
Well, then
I think that and Spider-Man 3 are kind of the same.
So if you had to rank the Spider-Man movies, because I'm assuming those two are the bottom two, right?
Yeah, those are the bottom two.
Okay, sure. All right, fair. So it doesn't really matter.
Those are the bottom two, but But yeah, I'm just saying, like, you seem to hate it.
I
I'm like, they're here.
To me, it's not even close which one is worse. Like, I think Amazing Spider-Man 2 is so much worse than Spider-Man 3.
It's pretty bad.
It's really bad. And I think Jamie Foxx's acting and everything. I think the whole thing was awful. Like the whole thing.
Peter Parker gets a comb over in Spider-Man 3.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I like Bully Maguire and Spider-Man 3, so I really have no complaints.
Me too. Yo, Black Air Force Energy Spider-Man is kinda fire, right? Like Black Air Force Energy.
It's too good. So what's wrong? You gonna cry? He's so bitter. He's so little goblin. You gonna cry? He's so bitter that the whole black suit era. Nasty.
I don't know. People hate that movie a lot. I know it's not the best one. It's nowhere near it, but there are some things about it that I like way more than Amazing Spider-Man 2. So I just wanted to give him. I just wanted to shit on that movie real quick. And so Jamie Foxx is pleased that his character has pretty much been completely redesigned. Everyone else is exactly the same. Everyone else looks the same. Willem Dafoe looks the same. Melina looks the same. Every Lizard Man is a fucking CG lizard.
I like how they hook him up with the hood though. Like he ends up looking like a different, more similar to the comic book Green Goblin.
Yes.
You know, like with the hood in it, because in the first Spider-Man movie, he didn't have the hood. He just had the Power Ranger suit.
Yeah, he just had the green suit. Yep. I do like that he had the hood. And what's interesting is that when you first see him at the soup kitchen with Aunt May, I didn't think like this is going to get destroyed in a way that makes him look like the Green Goblin that we saw in the cartoons and in the comics and stuff.
Yeah.
But I like how they did that. So let's get to that. So he captures pretty much every villain. And after that, the aunt calls him, is like, yo, one of the people you're looking for, he's here. He goes in, he sees him, he runs in because he's scared, obviously. He thinks that when she said that, like maybe they're about to kill her. So he runs in. And then they're just chilling. They're just big chilling. He sees the Green Goblin. He's stealing donuts in the back as she's telling him, like, yo, he's off. Like, he's not just off from like his verse, like he's off in his head. And he's like casually stealing donuts and shoving them in his pocket. So he's giving me like I'm crazy vibes. Like I'm a crazy person. And then that's where the conversation comes. What do we do with them? And at first he's like, I'm going to send them back. And she's like, are you like, is that better for you or is that better for them? Like, and she tells him like, that's what you want to do because it makes your life easier to just like get rid of them and discard them and drop them on somebody else's, doorstep for them to be killed too. And so that was the whole moral holy thing that he kind of teased him about later on. But that kind of sets up his aunt being, even when you do the right thing, sometimes there's consequences. And Lizard Man also kind of says, whenever you try to change people, there's always consequences. So they're setting up this future part of the movie by driving that point home that things happen when you try to tamper with who people are. Anyways, after that, he decides to take everybody to Happy's apartment, which is wild.
Yo, that scene where you see it on the cam and they all come in, I think I turned to you and I was like, that's a rant.
Yes.
Like,
as they're walking in together, Spider-Man and 5 villains are walking into his apartment casually. It's so random. Like when I was staring, I was like, this is you. Okay. So I think we all knew when they all went to the Happy's apartment that shit was going to go south though. Like
100%.
You could just feel that shit was going to go south when they got to that apartment. They get in, he's all happy. And at first, Dr. Octavius is going crazy about he's going to kill us all. What are you going to do? You have like a bunch of bachelor pad equipment. Like this is nonsense. You're going to kill us. You're going to kill us. And then that's when Electro says, he actually has some shit back there. I can feel it. And then he activates the fabricator. He's like, what the fuck is that? He's like, it can create anything, essentially. So they've already established that this verse is just nuts. Like, this verse is absolutely insane. This thing can just create anything.
That was not clear in the previous movie. I thought it just was a thing that made suits. Because that's how he made his suit at the end of the Far From Home. I thought it was just like a thing that made suits. I didn't know it made everything.
It literally makes anything. And they use it to first make a chip for Doc Ock. And he shows it to the Green Goblin, or at the time, Norman. He shows it to Norman. He explains like what it does, why he's even so cranky, why he's so bitter. And then he goes to put it on him and he starts freaking out like, oh, this is embarrassment. Can this embarrassment not go any higher than it already is? Don't touch me and all this other shit. But then he puts the chip in him. It looks like he kills him. Now, I kind of started to chuckle a little bit when I first saw that. I was like, yo, my man just killed Doc Ock. Like because here's what I thought was happening. I thought he was going to try to save their lives, but accidentally start killing them on some shit like that. Like the way he went down, like the way his head just like slumped after the chip went into his back. or the back of his neck. He didn't move, and he was calling his name. That scene went on for a while.
It did. I thought he was going to be okay. Like, I was fairly sure he was going to be okay, but I thought he's going to be kind of knocked out for just because, like you said, it went on for a while. I thought Electro was going to react. I thought Electro was going to be like, all right, fuck this shit.
So that's what I thought, that he was going to kill him by accident, and then they were going to all start being like, fuck you. Like, that shit that you just did, you're trying to snake us. Like, you're trying to fuck on us. And I thought that would be the catalyst for them turning on him. But no, after he's cured, he thanks Peter. He's all back to normal. He's all nice and shit. He thanks Peter. Then he goes to see Norman, who's in the room with the fabricator by himself. And Norman's just kind of like working on some shit with his back turned. And this
is where you started. That's when the crowd spider sense needs to start going off.
Yeah,
that's when I was like, wait.
The way the scene is directed, Norman's back is turned when Molina walks in, when Doc Ock walks into the room, and he says, "Hey Norman, you're finally going to be cured. No more dark side. It's going to be just you." And without turning to look at Doc Ock, he says, "That's right. Just me." But he says it in the voice. You can it's Willem Dafoe's acting is so fucking good. You can hear the change in when he's Norman and when he's Green Goblin. And when he says it, I feel like the inflection that he puts in it, when he says just me, I feel like that was like, you knew that was Green Goblin. And
I was scared.
It was really subtle.
It was very subtle, but if you were paying attention at all, it was blatant to the viewers that was supposed to be a signal like he is no longer Norman.
Yep. When I saw it, I blatantly thought, I was like, oh, he's creating a cure to get rid of Norman.
That's what I thought too. And yeah, we talked about that on the way home. I thought that the cure because letting Norman work on the cure for himself was a strange thing. Speaking of which, they did the meme, "I'm somewhat of a scientist myself," or "I'm something of a scientist." I thought that was really cool. Like earlier when he's like, "I'm something of a scientist." Everyone chuckles at that who knows that famous meme. But that was in a movie. But letting him work on his own cure, I thought for sure that he was going to cure himself of Norman, and then it would be Green Goblin Green Goblin forever now. Like, I don't have to fight back and forth with this coward. I'm just in control. But again, subverted our expectations there, completely did something else. Spider-Man goes out the room and he's like working on Jamie Foxx. And Jamie Foxx is like kind of freaking out about the little thing that's on his chest that's collecting all the electric energy in his body. He's like, I don't like this. And Sandman's like, don't touch it. Like, let it do its thing. And he's like, something doesn't feel right. Spider-Man just randomly, as he's working on stuff, his spider sense activates. And probably one of the coolest scenes in the movie. I just love the way they use spider sense. Every time they used it in this movie, I think it was phenomenal. The way they did spider sense was so good. So it activates in the apartment, and he gets up and starts walking through the apartment. He's like, May. So the first thing he's worried about is, where's my aunt? Like, before I do anything else, I need to know exactly where my aunt is, because obviously I can't have her in harm's way. So if anything has to go down, she has to get out of the way. So he's like, May. And then May comes down the steps, burning sage. She's barefoot. And he's like, okay, I know where she's at. He's looking around the room, and all 5 villains are in the room. Like, they're all there. And he's going face to face, looking at all of them. And then Jamie Foxx is like, why are you looking at me like that? They even set it up where you kind of felt like Jamie Foxx was going to be the person who popped shit off.
Because he was the one that was always, he was like the most antagonistic one, while still being calm, whereas Doc Ock was antagonistic, but he was kind of just wiling.
Yeah.
Whereas Jamie Foxx was like more collected. He was like, no, I don't fuck
also,
with this shit.
Jamie Foxx was like in his right state of mind too when he was acting on those impulses. He was like, I like it here a lot. He said with that new stuff, like that new energy, I could be so much more. And he looks out the city, and then he even makes a comment to Sandman about how he likes this new world. And Sandman is like, oh, you like the apartment? He's like, yeah, I love the floor plan. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? No, dog. I'm talking about this world.
Real quick to go back, because I forgot about it and I just remembered it. When you're talking about the spider sense, one of the coolest fucking scenes to me was when Doctor Strange takes Peter Parker's spirit out of his body.
Oh my God.
And what I understand, his spider sense is so OD, he's not even in his body, and he was just like not letting him catch the cube.
Yes.
His arm just kept moving the cube around. And as far as I understand, that's just the spider sense being immaculate.
Did you notice that the spider sense was actually drawn? And
you can see the lines.
Yeah.
Finally.
I thought that was really cool that they drew it in the spirit world. Also, so now you brought that up, let's go back to what is one of my favorite parts of the movie, is the fight between Doctor Strange and Spider-Man. I fucking love that scene. One of the reasons why this movie is so good to me is because the mirror dimension has been used in a couple movies. Doctor Strange, obviously, when he fights against, or he tries to fight against the Ancient One, she shows the brokenness of the mirror dimension. And then when he fights against Thanos in Infinity War on Titan and gets fucking creamed, he uses the mirror dimension against Thanos, but that shit does nothing against the Reality Stone. And then he uses it against Peter Parker. He's like 0 for 3 in the mirror dimension, just by the way. So just so we're keeping track, like he has not really done well in this dimension. But
sick as it is, and as much control as he should have.
Yo, the CG on this part of the movie is so good. Like everything from when Peter steals the box and runs with it, and immediately he like portals him. So Peter jumps into a portal and then he just ends up right back in front of Bleecher Street in front of the Sanctum Sanctorum. That whole thing when Doctor Strange comes out, he's like, give me the box. Like Doctor Strange doesn't even take it serious. He doesn't take Spider-Man serious at all. He's just like so calm, and he looks like he's annoyed more than he's feels like I have to actually try. Like at no point did it look like he had to try. He felt like I can beat this kid easily. And
it's like when your little brother has something, you're like, just give it back, man. I don't want to hurt you. Just give it back.
Like you can't possibly beat me. So when he pushes his soul out his body, he's like, am I dead? He's like, no, I just separated your physical body from your spiritual body. He's like, this feels amazing. Oh my God, I like this. And then he tries to grab it. The spider sense activates. He can't get the box. He's like, how the hell are you doing that? That shouldn't be a thing. What the hell? And he's trying to grab it. He can't get it. Then he swims back. He's like, don't ever do that again. He runs away. The cape goes on him. It was
really cool.
It was.
Never again.
The cape goes on him. And then I guess Doctor Strange gets annoyed. So he just fucking is like, all right, fuck this mirror dimension. Like, I'm just gonna take it now. And the mirror dimension was so good. He sent a train at that man at one point. Like a fucking actual train just attacks him. The Grand Canyon is fusing with New York. There's a lot of shit going on.
They do the thing where he sets up 2 portals and he's just looping through the portals as he's falling through, and then he fucking sets it up with a spider pulley.
He's like, give me that. He's kicking the cape.
So he beat him with what, geometry at that point?
Yeah, he said was better than magic is math. Yeah.
The geometry, I'm good at geometry, and he's like, and he sets up a whole fucking thing.
Yeah, and all of those things like web Doctor Strange in every direction. All his limbs are webbed up, and he pretty much it's significant that he steals the box, but not only the ring that Doctor Strange wears to open portals.
And he gives it to Ned.
Yeah, Ned actually takes it. Ned snatches it out of his hand, which is so funny. He's like, and I stole his ring thing, and Ned like grabs it. Like he just takes that shit.
I do like how childish they are. Like we were talking about this, but Tom Holland is the best high school Spider-Man that we've had. Like in terms of portraying a young Spider-Man, he's the best one that we've had. Period.
So speaking of that, I also like the scene where they ask Doc Ock what's his name, and he says, I'm Dr. Otto Octavius, and they laugh at him because they're fucking children.
Yeah,
they're such children. They're like, no, seriously, what's your name? And you remember when Spider-Man and Doctor Strange had their first interaction in Infinity War, and he's like, what's your name? He's like, Strange. He's like,
yeah.
He's like, no, you're real.
We're using code names.
He's like, yeah, we're using superhero names. I'm Spider-Man.
I remember that.
They've always had such a fucking weird interaction, like the whole thing about them. So
that's why I don't understand. There's some people that don't like the Tom Holland Spider-Man at all. Like I've seen some people just really hate on him, and I think he captures that high school teenager like energy.
Yes.
Perfect. Like way better than the other two. Like I've got certain things that I like about the other two, but overall I think Tom Holland's the best one that we've had.
Yeah, he is the best Spider-Man.
The problem with that is like Tobey Maguire, he doesn't look like a high school student, so that was his first issue and problem. And you can tell that he was like too dorky to be. Also, he has no sense of humor whatsoever. Like
Spider-Man's funny.
Yes,
Andrew Garfield was an emo skateboarder, and that was an automatic red flag for me. And then just like it just wasn't it.
But Andrew Garfield as Spider-Man, like I think Andrew Garfield was a better Spider-Man than Tobey Maguire because he had like the quips and he was more funny.
Yeah.
But Andrew Garfield was a horrible Peter Parker.
Yes.
Right? Like he didn't feel like a good Peter Parker at all.
He still was, honestly, when I look at him, I don't see Peter Parker still.
Yeah.
He's the worst Spider-Man, like to me by far. I think the gap is pretty big between like Tom Holland, Tobey Maguire, and Andrew Garfield in that order. I do not like Andrew Garfield Spider-Man. I don't like anything about him. Even though he is like theoretically funny, like Spider-Man is supposed to be, I still just do not like him as Spider-Man. I don't believe him as Spider-Man. He only had 2 movies. Both of them are pretty shite. Like neither of those movies is good. Yeah.
I think the first one's passable, but yeah, it's nothing special.
It's passable, but it's just not a good movie. Like I don't want to watch it again is the thing. Like I have no
On that note, I did like this is kind of jumping ahead because it seems like we're saving talking about all the Spider-Man.
No,
But
we're jumping. We could jump wherever you want. I already jumped
but
to the end.
on that note, I did really enjoy the part where I enjoyed all the parts where all the Spider-Men are talking to each other and
Yeah,
all of the interactions they had. I really like when Andrew Garfield is like, "Man, I suck. I'm lame." And he's like down on himself, and Tobey Maguire's like, "No, you're amazing."
yeah,
And I thought it was cool because obviously the Amazing Spider-Man, but specifically Andrew Garfield's movies were called the Amazing Spider-Man.
yes.
He's
I
like,
want
"You're
him.
amazing. Say it. I'm amazing. You're amazing."
Yeah, he never says it too, which is funny.
Yeah, and the things with Andrew Garfield for his redemption in that in No Way Home to redeem him from his
Oh,
past mistakes in the other
yeah, yeah.
movies were good. But I like how they're joking and they're like, "Well, I fought this villain." They're like, "Oh, you went into space?" He's like, "Well, who did you fight?" "Oh, I fought a guy in a rhino suit." He's like,
Right.
"Oh, okay."
Yeah.
That
Just
shit was.
jokingly just shitting on all his movies, but
They
Yes.
really were.
They
Like
poke
he was
fun at it.
catching heat. Like he was just. I started to feel bad for him. I was like, "Yo, y'all giving him too much heat."
Yeah, he lost it. He's the only one who lost his Mary J. Like she's dead. He hasn't fought any cool villains. They do really poke fun at the Amazing Spider-Man movies because they're not good. They're just
They do.
not.
And then the scene where he shoots Tobey Maguire shoots it like the web out of his arm and
Yeah.
they're like, "What the fuck?"
I also noticed Tobey Maguire tagged him when they first saw each other.
Yeah.
When they both shot webs at each other, Tobey Maguire dodges Andrew Garfield's, and then he fucking shoots him and hits his arm. Like he tags him.
They showed off that he was the most experienced in that scene, and then in the other scene at the end where he outstrengths Tom Holland,
Yeah.
where like he swings it down. Like they showed that like this guy's the OG.
Yeah. Like very clearly, Tobey Maguire is he's the OG.
Another random scene I liked with Andrew Garfield, just to try to give him a little bit of credit, is when he webbed up Lizard Man.
That part was really
And
cool.
When he webs him up, it's the exact same thing he did to the I think the robber at the start of the first movie. Like the way he did it, like the way he webs him up, like the choreography of it, it was the same choreography from the
He
start.
does it while backing up.
Yeah, it's like the same choreography that he did in Amazing Spider-Man against the guy that killed Uncle Ben. I think.
He webbed him up so like Lizard Man got webbed up so fucking fast. I thought that was really cool. But all right, let's rewind because
Yeah.
somehow we ended up on that. All right, so after the mirror dimension and like he locks Strange in there, steals his shit. Now it's like back to the apartment. Spider Sense is going crazy. He's looking at everybody. Jamie Foxx is looking at him like, why the fuck are you looking at me? I thought it was going to be Jamie Foxx that popped off. Pretty much everyone did because that's how they directed the movie to be. And then he randomly just webs Norman. Just webs Norman to like webs his arm against that weird machine that's in his apartment in Happy's apartment. And at first Norman kind of doesn't respond, and then he slowly
Iron
turns
Man told me machine.
He slowly turns his head and he's like, that sense of yours is really annoying. Like, and then that's when the voice comes out. And I love the way he starts talking shit on him. Like, these aren't curses. We're gods. Like these are gifts, basically. Like the way we are is the way we're designed to be. And we don't need to be fucking cured. Gods don't, what do you say? Gods don't beg or something, they take.
Yeah.
Yeah, that whole part. What's like the first attack that happens to get shit popping? Because when he attacks, like Jamie Foxx just shoots Doc Ock. He's like, I liked you better before.
Yeah, and he rips the thing off him. Like he rips the thing that was going to neutralize him.
That's what it was.
That off his chest.
Yeah.
I think with Sam, man, he did a complete 180. It's like, yeah, you're absolutely right. And it's just like, I'm automatically mad for no reason. And he just like starts throwing sand everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but
he starts snapping out of nowhere. It was weird because, and at the start, yeah, he was like, oh, you're Spider-Man. Like, we're cool. And then we see some face. He's like, you're not Peter Parker. But then he's like, listen, I'll explain later. And then, yeah, when they're in the apartment, he's just like, oh, fuck it. Like, fuck it.
When the other ones is really group mentality, right? It's like that whole mob mentality.
Yeah.
Because when the other villains start to act up, he just decides to go with the flow.
Yeah.
Like, but he wasn't going with the flow at first, which is kind of like a little gripe. Because he was saying like, yo, just keep it on. When the thing was absorbing electricity, he's like, keep it on, like he's gonna fix you up. But then as soon as Willem Dafoe activates Green Goblin, he just like, all right, well, this is what we're doing, I guess. Like he just pretty much he'll go with whoever's in charge at the time. He's just like, all right, this is what I'm doing.
I guess he felt like, I'm not going to just put myself on the outnumbered team.
Yes. So he picked a side. And yeah, Doc Ock gets fucking shot out the building. So that puts him out the movie for a while. And we see that he doesn't die. He grabs onto the side of the building, then he jumps to another building, and you see Jameson fucking with the cameras and shit on him. Like, look, like shit's happening now. And they show him crawling up. So he's not dead or anything. What you kind of may wonder though is, did that electricity like fuck up the new chip? That they
become evil again.
Yeah, and that's brought up later on, like when you don't know if he's good or evil. So they kind of left that open, like what happened to him after. He said, "I like you better before," and he shocks him. So when I first saw that, my initial thought was, "Oh God!" Like he just immediately reversed that shit on him. So now he's back to being evil. But then they never show him again for a while. And here's the best part of the movie, honestly: Green Goblin versus Spider-Man. A lot of people forgot.
Right.
I know I forgot that Green Goblin is Diesel on some.
They were throwing hands.
On some durability and also strength shit. He is really, really, really up there. Now, granted, I know. Before people get mad who read the comics, Spider-Man, every time he's ever fought any of his villains, has been holding back, and he could easily kill every single one of his villains, 0 difficulty. I believe that there's an arc in the comics where Doc Ock switches bodies with Spider-Man, literally, and he realizes that Spider-Man has always been holding back in every fight he's ever had with him. Like, he could have killed him. So even with this, they make
Superior Spider-Man.
Is that when it happens?
Yeah, he turns to Superior Spider-Man. He I forgot who he did. He punched he was fighting Wolverine and he punched him full force and knocked him out. So just like, okay. And this is the guy with the animanium skeleton.
Yeah.
And Superior Spider-Man gave him no fucks. He was shooting niggas too. So I mean that's neither here.
Oh no, not Spider-Man in Fortnite.
Yeah, he was shooting niggas.
Fortnite Spider-Man?
Isn't that the one where he actually became like he actually got more spider powers? Like he didn't need the cartridges anymore. He like was able to actually shoot webs.
No, he just Doc Ock was switch bodies with him, and then just like, all right, well, I could be a better Spider-Man than you were.
Yeah, I remember. I don't remember which one it was now, but I remember there was a Spider-Man arc or universe where he didn't have the cartridges. He like evolved or whatever, but I can't remember what it was called.
Yeah. That was when he did the evolution thing, and he had organic weapon for a time and got stronger, faster, had better spider sense. So yeah, it did happen.
Yeah. So he's OP as fuck, but I forgot that Green Goblin was pretty on par with Spider-Man's like strength and shit. So when he punches him, and the first punch he lands on Peter, he gets hit out of a window. And he kind of like leans back real far, and then he kind of webs onto Green Goblin to stay in the building because he's almost about to fall out the window from that sucker punch. And he's trying to like gain his balance, and Green Goblin pulls him towards him and starts whooping his ass, throws him out on the balcony, and they're going at it. And then Spider-Man does this crazy move where he like shoots the webs up at the ceiling, flips, and then stomps down into Green Goblin's chest. And
I don't think I heard anybody else in the theater do it. I couldn't believe I was the only one. I was like, damn.
So Kenny, when I first saw it, because the first time I saw the movie, I saw it by myself. And so the person on my right and the person on my left, I didn't know them, but they were also alone. They weren't with anyone. I was audible during this entire apartment scene.
Yo.
The choreography for the apartment, when he first punched him and he went through the window, I said, oh my God. But then when Spider-Man did that flip and stomped him in the chest, with the web as like as leverage, I said, "Oh shit!" Like I literally was saying, "Oh shit" out loud in the movie theater because I couldn't believe it.
That choreography was sick. I like all the Spider-Man choreography. This movie was fucking.
This
dope.
is the
Everything
best
he did with the webs.
This is the best choreography I've seen in a Spider-Man film. Period.
It was a power bombs for me through the fucking.
The power.
Yes, there were multiple in this movie. There were multiple.
Green Goblin power bombed him through like 7 floors. Okay.
Yo, he powerbombed him like twice. At one point, he just throws him down through the floor. And then at another point, he power drivers him down multiple floors. He gets slammed by Lizard Man randomly. Lizard Man just happens to be on the side of the building when he goes outside. Like, he goes outside to kind of catch his breath. And Lizard Man is just casually there. And he grabs him. He's like, I told you there'd be consequences, bitch. And he fucking sucker punches him and throws him back in the building. I'm like, what the fuck? And then Green Goblin picks him up and is like, slams him up on the ceiling, slams him on the ground. And then he picks him up and is like, boom, 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 just all the way down all the floors. Aunt May is running around. She took the stairs because the elevator doesn't work because of Electro. She gets to the bottom of the fucking thing, and that's when they crash through the ceiling from the pile driver. In my opinion, I thought Spider-Man was done right there. And I guess he kind of was, but it's just crazy. His durability is so nuts. Like, okay, Willem Dafoe, his acting in that entire scene in the hallway when they were fighting, when Spider-Man jumped on his face and he started punching him in the face and he started it was like the Joker when Batman has the Joker in the interrogation room and he's punching him in the face. He's like, never start with the head and all that stuff. And the Joker is laughing at him. That reminded me of the joke, like the Heath Ledger Joker tier of acting where he's laughing at Spider-Man punching him in the face.
It was amazing because he's punching him, and at first his face is like normal, so to speak, and he keeps hitting him, and then like you see it kind of slowly, and he gets that really creepy smile. Yes. And he's looking at him, and he's just enjoying he's just staring right at him like.
Green Goblin can take hits. He took a lot of hits from Spider-Man too. It's not like Spider-Man wasn't getting off on him in that hallway. Like he was getting off on him too, but he could just take that shit. And I guess he's also wearing the suit, so that also like amps him. But man, when he power dropped him through the shit, I thought, I was like, there's no way he's getting back up. And then he said, no good deed goes unpunished. And Aunt May like stands up after that whole fucking explosion shit, and he's like, he tells her to run. As soon as I saw the glider lift up and it's kind of like behind her, I said, oh no. Like that because that's how he dies in the first Spider-Man movie ever. Like that, the way he uses that as a reversal is the impale. It's really cool because was Willem Dafoe, was Green Goblin in the room when they told how he died? Like was he in the room when they said like he was impaled by the glider? Because Sandman says it. Sandman says it was all over the news. Green Goblin died from being impaled by his own glider that used to fly around. I think that is Green Goblin in the room when that happened.
Yeah, because they were all in the room when they were revealing how
they died or whatever.
Their fate with Spider-Man happened. Okay. It's like, oh well, you died, and then you died because you got submerged with that Heart of the Sun thing you was trying to
right. Yeah,
because only Sandman remember because he was in the last movie.
Yes.
Yeah.
Electro told Lizard what happened to him.
Right. So that makes sense. They kept the chronology going.
Oh, yeah. And then Electro was talking about, he was like, yeah, and then I was fusing with energy, and oh, shit, I was about to
die. Yeah, I like that Green Goblin is so spiteful that he used the information that he heard about his own death to kill Spider-Man's aunt. Like, I really like that. Also, that takes so much just malevolence because you also spoke to this woman as she was trying to help you. And you also listened to her try to convince Spider-Man to do the right thing, her moral holy high ground or whatever he called it. And you still chose to kill her despite all of that. Like, she was really nice to you always and everything. And he still chose to take her out.
This was the biggest swerve of the movie. Like this, I think most people expected, even though they did a really good job not spoiling it, most people expected the other Spider-Man to be in the movie just because all the other actors were here.
I was not surprised about them at all.
Nobody expected for Aunt May to be the new Uncle Ben.
I never saw that coming.
That was a huge swerve and this is something I like. I was saying it the other day, but the fact that everybody propped up the new Spider-Man trilogy on it not having a whole Uncle Ben backstory scene, like we get it, we already saw it. So everybody gave it credit, like, hey, Homecoming skipped it, that's cool. We're right into what Spider-Man's doing. What nobody realized is that they spent the first 3 Spider-Man movies setting up essentially Spider-Man's
Uncle Ben, because he's younger than the other Spider-Man too.
Yeah, so like they got rid of Uncle Ben, they swerved us, they made it so we didn't even think about it, and they made Aunt May's role the new Uncle Ben. Yep. And essentially these first 3 movies are the intro to, like, these first 3 movies are Spider-Man 1 basically.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like they come together to be Spider-Man 1 and ending with Aunt May fucking dying, which I just was a huge swerve.
Yeah, like after he hit her with the glider, which I thought that the glider was going to overtly kill her, right? I thought that he was going to have her pressed up against something where like you knew she was dead. If the glider gets taken back, she dies. Yeah. It's one like the way Green Goblin died. It's like if I pull the glider out, like you will die. I thought that it was going to be that type vibe, like really brutal, but she gets hit by it. She gets knocked down, and then Green Goblin's like, no good deed goes unpunished, and he smiles. He doesn't have the helmet on. So what's really cool to me is that Willem Dafoe's face still looks like Green Goblin with the helmet on. Like the way he does his face, the way he contorts it, and that creepy little smile when he tosses the bomb, and Spider-Man realizes what he's doing. He throws the bomb at Aunt May, like he throws it over top of her body, and Spider-Man like hits it away. You know, they get blown up. She's fine though, it seems. She gets up, she's standing up, and she's like, we got knocked on our ass. We just got knocked on our ass. But she's standing on her own. Like she stood up on her own. She grabs the bag with all the cures in them. Like she grabs the bag and she walks over to Spider-Man, and he gets up.
Uses the bag to hide her wound. At least that's what it seemed like to me.
Yeah,
like she was hiding her wound so that Peter wouldn't worry about it.
She definitely does. She's kind of like, she's kind of hobbling over, which we would expect. But the fact that she stood up on her own with such a severe wound, I didn't think that she was going to die. So when I'm watching the scene and she's like, I just got knocked on my ass, and he's like, I think I broke my ribs. And in my head, I was like, you didn't break your ribs. Your ribs got broken. Like you didn't break your own ribs. That man pile drive you through 7 floors. You didn't do that.
Yeah, that's not like you're on the swing and you jumped off the swing the wrong way.
Yeah, he's like, I think I broke my rib. Like, no, you didn't break shit. Green Goblin broke your ribs. But yeah, she's like, I got knocked on my ass. And they're just talking, and he's like, I'm done. I'm sending them all back or whatever. And he feels bad. He's like, it's not my responsibility, May. And she's like, are you talking about what Norman said about my moral high ground thing? She's like, no. Hold on. Listen to me. Listen. You have a gift, and with great power comes great responsibility. And everybody in the movie theater kind of was like, oh, she said that line. Like, that's really cool. We finally got that line after 3 movies. What we forgot is that every time that line is said,
I didn't forget. As soon as when I started, I was like, oh no. I was upset.
Yep. And as soon as she delivers that line, she fucking stumbles and falls.
I thought it was weird too. I don't know if you noticed, but in our theater, when she said it, I heard people in the back, I heard people laugh almost. Like,
yes, I heard that too.
Yeah, it seemed like to me people were like laughing at her saying that, and then I don't know if they didn't realize or if they thought it was corny or what, but I was distraught. I was like, oh, she's dead.
The first showing, the Thursday 4 p.m. showing I went to, when she said that line, everybody gasped. I heard gasps in my theater the first time I saw the movie. There was no laughing. There was no talking either. When she said that, people were like, and then she falls. And okay, so I wrote on Facebook after seeing it day 1, I cried a lot. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to say and cap. Like, I actually factually shed tears when she fell down and he's like, what's wrong? Like, May, what's wrong? And he started tearing up. His acting, like Tom Holland's actual acting is so insane. And the way his eyes are like really red. They're like really, really, really red, and they're welling up with tears because he knows what's happening. And he kind of is like, I'm right here. Everything's fine. You're just gonna catch your breath. She's like, yeah, I just need to catch my breath. He's like, yeah, you're just gonna catch your breath. It's fine. I'm here. And then he kind of reaches his hand under, and it makes him freeze. And he slowly moves his hand up, and she's like, what's wrong? And there's something cool about, or not cool, but like there's something about the way she says, like, what's wrong? When he sees the hand of blood, like. It's kind of like she's a little out of it. You can tell that she's
definitely out of it. She's like, I just need to catch my breath.
Yeah, like you could tell.
She just caught a history for that glider. So
yeah, she's like really out of it. So when she says what's wrong, it's like, yo, you're literally dying. What do you mean what's wrong? And he kind of just looks, he's like, and that's when he starts pleading for an ambulance and he's pleading for help. And that part broke me when he starts calling out for help, and like then you see damage control coming up with their weapons drawn.
That's what's so fucked up. He's screaming for help, and there's people out there that those are supposed to be the people that help you.
Yes,
and they're just coming in guns drawn. No, we're killing Peter Parker.
Yes, they come out guns drawn, and he is like, May, talk to me. Like, why won't you talk to me? And she dies. She dies, and he cries really bad, like really, really bad. Then they say, come out with your hands up. And he doesn't oblige. And then Happy pulls up too. Happy looks and sees what happened. Happy realizes exactly what happened. And then they pull Happy out of his vehicle, slam him down, and he tells Peter to run. And the first time he says that Peter doesn't do anything, he kisses Aunt May on the forehead, and he starts saying, I'm sorry. And that's when, for me, I was holding back the tears. But when he started saying, I'm sorry, and kissing on her forehead at the same time, him saying, I'm sorry multiple times in that frantic breathing that he was doing, done. I was fucking fully crying, like not like loud crying, but the tears were coming down my face when he was saying, I'm sorry. Like, I could not deal with that part.
It was a fucked up scene.
And then they fucking shoot him.
Yeah, they do shoot him.
Spider-Man gets factually shot in the shoulder. Like, he takes a straight up gunshot to the shoulder. Again, durability, insane durability.
He gets real quick. Cam, what did you think about like that whole scene overall? Like in terms of, I guess, like the swerve of Aunt May dying and just, I don't know, like that whole sequence.
When she said the line, I know there was no way she was living at that point. I mean, good on them. See, they got there's no Uncle Ben, but they had to kill off one of them. So
Yes.
it's just
Fucked
like
up.
it was her time to go. But yeah, that scene, I was a little choked up with that scene. So I did have a question for both of you. What was more emotional, that scene or Spider-Man getting dusted away in Infinity War?
That's a good question. I thought you were going to say
Ooh.
when Gwen died, but I was going to say, I don't give a fuck, right? Okay.
I had nobody.
So that is a really,
That's good.
really good question because I
Because once
cried.
again, his actor, the way he portrays being young, and he's like the whole "I don't feel good, Mr. Stark." I know now it's a meme, but the first time you see like that shit was fucked.
So
up.
I cried for that as well. And it's weird. When the heroes started to disappear at the end of Infinity War, I wasn't emotional until they went back to Titan and they showed Spider-Man dying. I had because the rest, they all die quietly. None of them kind of say anything when they're dying. It's just kind of like, because they're all adults, I guess, and they just kind of accept like what's happening. They're confused too, right? Like Black Panther kind of looks at himself as he's evaporating. When Spider-Man dies, though, it's widely known that he knew he was going to die because of his spider sense. So his spider sense on Titan is going nuts before it's even his turn. He can feel his death coming. And so when he says, I don't feel well, he's still whole. He's not even evaporating at all yet. Like that scene fucked me up. And that's when I started to, like, the tears started to well up in my eyes during Infinity War's ending. As far as which one is sadder though, I think the Aunt May scene is actually sadder because one, it went on longer. Two, I honestly did not expect her to die like that. Like her standing up really made me believe, like, it's the way the glider didn't kill her on impact. If she would have just got hit by the glider and impaled against the wall, I don't think I would have had like the same feeling. I would have kind of just been like, okay, she's dead. The fact that I've resigned myself in my reclining seat at AMC theaters, I resigned myself to the fact that she lived already. I accepted that she lived. When she was like, I just got knocked on my ass, I was like, okay, she's taking it. Like, she's not durable like him, but she's fine. Like, she's good. And then she dies anyway. And when he starts kissing her forehead and all that stuff, to me, it's sadder. Also, I wanted to say this before I let you answer, Kenny. I really love, so there's no Uncle Ben in this trilogy, but something that the other Spider-Man movie didn't do was Uncle Ben is in those movies for all of like 10 or 20 minutes, right?
Yeah.
When they do finally kill one of his aunts or uncles, she's been around for 3 movies now. Actually, more than that because of like Civil War and stuff like that. So she's been around. Like Tony Stark, when he first met her, is like, your absurdly randomly hot aunt. Like she's remember he says it like he's kind of staring at her as he's like, Spider-Man's talking to him, but he's kind of staring at his aunt like through the, like, what the fuck is going on here? Like, why is your aunt randomly hot as hell? So she first was introduced to us as like a meme almost, like, why is she so hot? Because Aunt May has always been like an old woman that, she's old, like really old. And we've seen her, she has character development. She dated Happy at one point, they had a fling. You know her. When you kill a character that you know, it has a much bigger impact than killing Uncle Ben at the beginning of the movie. We don't even know Uncle Ben. Like, I don't give a fuck. Like,
I agree. That's why I think a lot of people complained once again about like Tom Holland Spider-Man and how he's like a Tony Stark fanboy and all this other shit. But something that I think is really cool that they did is they took these 3 movies to establish this Spider-Man, and then, like you said, they established Aunt May. So now when Aunt May dies, it has so much more impact because she's a character that we've seen in multiple movies. We've grown more attached to her other than, 10 or 20 minutes. So her death carries more weight.
Yes.
But also now I think going forward into the next trilogy, we're going to get the Spider-Man everybody wanted to see in like Spider-Man 2 of the first trilogy, where it's like Spider-Man being like him being Spider-Man, him being in his own and him having the sauce without being a full-on Tony Stark fanboy and shit. Because nobody remembers him, so he doesn't have backup, he doesn't have a team. So I think this new trilogy is going to be like Spider-Man 2, so to speak, in quotations, whereas this first trilogy was essentially all of Spider-Man 1.
Yeah, the prologue.
And then now to go, they were both really fucked up, and I definitely got choked up when Aunt May died. But I think for me, the Spider-Man getting snapped was worse, like, because I think it's the fact that he's a child, right? He's there, he's in space, he looks up to Tony Stark so much, and he's such a kid, and he's so happy and like friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. He's up in space, he's way over his head, but he's also Spider-Man, so he's Diesel as shit. But his mindset, his personality, he's still a child. Tony Stark is like his guardian on this fucking field trip that they're basically on Titan. And then so when he starts dying, it's like you're literally watching a child die, and that always kind of feels a bit worse to me than watching like an old person die. Even though Aunt May, like you said, she wasn't old; she was kind of hot.
Yes.
But the fact that he's a high school student and he's dying, he's getting snapped away, and like the "I don't feel so good, Mr. Stark" thing, like that shit legit got me. And I remember just feeling like really torn up inside. Like I was like, oh my god, like this feels. And the fact that they ended a movie, like how crazy they ended a movie, like all of these superheroes are dead, but Spider-Man was dead at the end of a fucking movie. Like that is because Spider-Man is one of the most popular icons, like period. I know there was children. I remember reading that there was children leaving the movie theater crying when they saw that. Like moms getting mad because they were like, "How could you?"
Stretchers.
Yo, people were leaving on stretchers. People were pissed that a movie ended with Spider-Man die. Anyway, yeah, that shit hurt me. Like I remember feeling hurt.
We've never really seen heroes die like that. So many of them die. And I mean, Infinity War, like to me, is number one, right? Like it is the best Marvel movie to me, and to a lot of people. A lot of people. It's funny. I actually was watching something today where somebody was ranking all of the Marvel movies, and he immediately put Infinity War as number one. Even if he was like, "This is my post No Way Home tier list," and he put No Way Home like right up there with Endgame and Infinity War. But yeah, so many people are dying at the end of Infinity War, and the Spider-Man part definitely choked me up. I guess because it doesn't just focus on his death. It's like you're watching a lot of people go, right?
Yeah.
Like it's not as, and it's so cool. Those scenes are directed so differently. The death of Spider-Man and the death of Aunt May are directed so differently. So the death of Spider-Man is grouped in together with a bunch of other heroes dying at the same time, right? And it's also bone silent when they're dying. There is no music. There's no music for all of the heroes dying at the end of the movie. Infinity War ends completely in silence. That's a really cool thing to do from just a directing standpoint. It's just to cut all the sound off. Don't try to give us an emotion, right? Like don't try to force an emotion on us, just like quietness. And when Aunt May dies, the music is extremely sad. It brings it out of you, right? It's like, it cultivates that scene. They're both phenomenal. Both of them are phenomenal.
Which one for you, Cam?
Probably Infinity War. Just because he knew he was dying, like you said, and
that shit,
I don't feel so good. And so I think he was, if I remember correctly, he was kind of like begging for his life.
He was,
yeah.
So
he said, "I don't want to die."
Kind of worse.
Yeah, he definitely said, "I don't want to die."
That kind of made it worse. Aunt May just kind of went out like a G. I mean, she just like
she really did go out like a G. For me,
she did.
The crazy thing is, for me, the reason why the Aunt May death is so much more emotional. It has nothing to do with Tom Holland. It has nothing to do with her. It has everything to do with Tom Holland's acting.
Yeah, no, incredible actor.
Like, I think the Aunt May scene is better only because of the way he carries that entire sequence from the time when he sees the blood, that sequence from that point on when he calls for the ambulance and you can kind of hear his voice crack. That entire part to me, the tears welling in his eyes and how he looks and the kiss, it's the kissing on the forehead for me. I can't deal.
Yeah.
That kissing on the forehead when he starts apologizing, man, I'm like, oh my God, it's so emotional. It's so sad.
Quick side note on the note of Tom Holland being a great actor, because I think he really was doing some amazing shit in this movie and the other movies he was in, the other Marvel movies.
He's just good at them.
I want to say, as much as I like him as an actor and as much as I think he's perfect for Spider-Man, he is a terrible Nathan Drake. I'm just saying, we saw the trailer for Uncharted before Spider-Man, and I was like, this fucking child is not Nathan Drake. What am I looking at?
Yeah, you asked me, you were like, that's not Nathan Drake. He's too young. You said he's too young.
So it was bad. A fucking super clean face Nathan Drake. Like, that shit is trash.
Yeah, that wasn't it.
He's a great actor, but I think that's a bad casting choice. Anyway, that's a side rant.
It was weird seeing the trailer for Uncharted starring Tom Holland as the main actor right before seeing Spider-Man. I thought that was a strange choice for advertisement.
It was weird.
Like, I don't know. Weird. I feel like there should be something that you don't show the primary actor from a movie in a different role before the movie comes on. I just feel like that should just be etiquette. Just plain etiquette.
It was definitely weird.
Yeah.
I remember I said that. Etiquette. Yeah. It was weird. And it was cool. It was cool to see that the other Marvel movie as Morbius? A preview. Yeah, Morbius. Just because it felt like, because I mean the after credit scene in this movie was literally just a trailer for Doctor Strange.
Yes.
So it was cool to see another Marvel trailer before, because I didn't even know that movie was coming.
Morbius.
Yeah, I didn't even know that was coming until I saw the trailer
Yeah.
in the theaters.
It looks interesting. It looks like it's worth watching.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to see. I've seen every Marvel movie and all the Marvel shows, although I haven't seen Hawkeye yet. So I'm going to see Morbius too.
Yeah, same.
And Eternals. I haven't seen Eternals yet, but I'm waiting for it to come to Disney.
January 12th, I think it comes out on Disney Plus. So I think that's a Monday because the 9th is Attack on Titan. I remember that. So I don't know how it lines up, but I think I saw January 12th was Eternals. Whatever day it is, you're going to be watching that shit. I actually like Eternals. But okay.
That's when I'm watching it also.
Yeah, you haven't seen it yet either, Cam?
Nah.
So
I'll wait till January.
So a lot of people shit on it. I won't spoil, obviously. A lot of people shit on Eternals. I think the movie's actually good. I think that people just can't deal with, I guess, seeing 10 characters that they don't know at all. And a movie that kind of is like paced. It's not even, I can't even say it's paced slow because it's really not paced slow. But there's a lot of character development in it because it's an origin story, right? And so it has that origin story feel to it. And maybe people are just used to some fast paced shit now where they just, I don't know. I'm trying to understand why people didn't like it because honestly, when I watched Eternals, the movie's like 2 hours and 45 minutes long. It's very long, but I think they use every single scene really well. I think the action choreography is really well done. The CG is really well done. There's a lot of cool things about it. Seeing the Game of Thrones actors outside of Game of Thrones, also just, they've been, doing their own thing. It's kind of cool. But I think Eternals is just a good movie, period. Like, I think it's just a good movie. I think it's a good Marvel movie. And I don't think it deserves all the hate it got. I know a lot of that hate was rooted in randomly homophobia because one of them is gay, which is so fucking stupid. But yeah, it got review bombed. Like a bunch of
so dumb. I'm excited to see it. I said I've seen people complain about it, but everybody I've seen complain about it, I haven't really seen them construct anything like intelligent. They
like why don't you like it? Like, what is it that made you think this is a bad movie? Are you just mob mentality? Like everyone on the internet is saying this is a bad movie, and therefore I believe it too. Here's how I know
what it seemed like to me.
Here's how I know that the reviews aren't real for Eternals. Then I'm gonna get off this. So Eternals is rated worse than Thor, the second one.
Stop. No fucking way.
I swear to God. Was it Thor Underworld or whatever it's called? I don't even remember.
Yeah.
That
the Dark Dimension,
Dark, whatever. Eternals has a worse rating than that second Thor movie, and that's
not real.
That's how I know it's cap. That's how I fucking know, Kenny, that shit is cap.
There's only one Marvel movie as bad as Thor 2, and that's Ant-Man and the Wasp. Ant-Man and the Wasp is fucking garbage.
You hate Ant-Man and the Wasp, and every time you get a chance to shit on it, you do.
I do. Because it is so fucking bad. That and the second Thor movie are by far the worst Marvel movies.
Yes.
You liked Iron Man 3? Oh goodness.
You did not hear me say I like Iron Man 3. That is not what you heard me say. You just heard, but Iron Man 3 is way better. Like, Iron Man 3 is an S tier fucking movie compared to Thor 2 and Ant-Man and the Wasp. I will watch, just like how Fraser will watch Spider-Man 3 times before watching Amazing Spider-Man 2 again, I'll watch Iron Man 3 33 times.
Damn.
Before watching Thor 2 and Ant-Man and the Wasp again. They are by far the worst Marvel movies.
Yes. So
not 33 times.
So just know
Amazing Spider-Man 2 is sex on the beach compared to those two movies.
I agree. Just know is straight up cap when people shit on Eternals and have Eternals rated worse than Thor 2. Just know, like, that has to be cap. Like, okay.
That's like when they said that Fantastic Four movie is worse than Dragon Ball Evolution. I was like, y'all need to slow down.
That can't be possible. That can't possibly be true.
The one with Michael B. Jordan. Like, that one is not. It is not worse than Dragon Ball Evolution. Stop.
Cam?
I mean, it's apples and oranges. I can't. Oh God! What? Did you figure that I can fly? Oh goodness!
Oh man! Yeah. All right. So,
but is it worse than Evolution, Cam?
Jesus! It's apples and oranges. I can't. They're both just bad. I don't want to compare how bad they are, but
they are bad. But
bottom of the barrel. Right. Yeah. So all right. So Aunt May's dead, and now Spider-Man is all sad. It goes to another one of those daily. Was it
Daily Bugle?
Yeah, but he has like a new name for his show. I forget what it's called. But anyway, it goes to another one of those things. He's talking about the tragedy. The screen's black, and then it kind of opens with Peter Parker. It's raining, and he's on top of a building, and he's watching this huge billboard.
That's a great shot, by the way.
I love it. I love the rain coming down on his face with all the blood and the scars and the marks and shit. And as he's just like kind of watching it lifelessly, he's like, and then he concludes with saying, "Everywhere Spider-Man goes, tragedy follows." Mm-hmm. And it kind of switches the scene, and it goes to Ned and MJ chilling at Ned's house, and they're all sad and sulking. And she's like, "I want to press the button. I'm gonna just kill everybody. I haven't heard from him. We tried to text him." She decided, "I'm just gonna press it and then just kill everybody, send them all back. Fuck it, right?"
Mission's and then Ned's over. Like, no, why don't we just wait for Spider-Man? And he wiggles his hands.
Yeah, he says like he wants to see. I wish we could just see him. And then a couple sparks happen, and then they like, "Wait, do that again." And he goes, "I wish that we could just see him."
No. She says, "Do it again," and he does it. He goes, "I wish we could see." Like he does it in his chair, like he reenacts his actual reaction. I thought that was so funny.
And he's like, "I wish we could see Peter." And and what's cool about it is that he says like, "I wish we could see Peter," with the thought of like Peter Parker in mind. And the portal opens up, and it's an alleyway with Spider-Man in it. And at first, so for me, because I know everyone had a different experience of the realization, right? So as I'm watching this, and the alleyway appears with Spider-Man in it, I'm staring at it, and I'm like, that's not where they just showed Spider-Man, but okay. And then right after I had that thought, my eyes kind of got big and I was like, oh shit. And then other people in the movie just started to react.
Yeah. I immediately, as soon as they showed him, I immediately knew it wasn't Tom Holland for two things. One, he was like down in an alleyway instead of up high on like a building or whatever. And two, he had the mask back on. And like Tom Holland just had the mask off and he was all fucked up. And in my head, there was no reason for him to put the mask back on or whatever. So anyway, I immediately knew it wasn't Tom Holland. I started getting hyped. Like, I had my hand on my face and I was smirking. I was getting hyped. I was like, oh, shit. That's going to be... I didn't know... I actually thought it was going to be Tobey Maguire, though. I didn't know it was going to be Andrew Garfield first. I just assumed it was going to be Tobey first.
I'd say the best for last.
Yeah.
I guess that's true. That's true.
That's exactly how I felt. So he jumps into the house and everybody goes crazy. The biggest applause or uproar for that was the Thursday showing for me, because I went 3 times. The Thursday showing went off. I mean, they went off to the point where I was a little nervous that they weren't going to quiet down for me to hear the dialogue.
Yeah,
like, they went off.
Is that by the time Saturday came around, because like people clapped, but not much. By the time our viewing came around, I'm gonna guess half the theater probably got spoiled. So maybe they knew it was coming.
That
like,
and also.
Luckily, I didn't get spoiled. I mean, I knew they were going to be in.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there was always a point like maybe they won't be in.
Also, so me and you, the show you went to was at 10:45 p.m. And I do imagine that like energy isn't as high as it was at 4 p.m. when I first saw it.
Yeah.
Just in general, like energy levels are just lower because the showing we went to with me and you was very tame compared to the other two that I went to. I went to one at 3:15 on Saturday, and I went to one at 4 p.m. on Thursday. Those showings were a lot more hype, but they're middle of the day. So
yeah,
I'm not
happy
surprised.
Ours was tame because I don't like getting scared like how like these people better be quiet.
I was really nervous that they weren't, because they were popping the fuck off Thursday. But then they quieted down, and luckily he didn't have any dialogue when he first came in. He just kind of was like there. Like they knew that was going to be a hype scene. The directors, they know. They left enough room. So it quieted down. Then he like pulls his mask off and it's Andrew Garfield. And that was really cool because now you know Tobey Maguire is also in the movie. And it's that little comedy scene where she throws the bread at him and talks about the tingling thing. He's like, I do have it, just not for bread. Like, what
not
the fuck?
For bread.
Like, my spider sense won't activate for things that aren't dangerous. But the other part that was really funny when she's like, go ahead, prove it. Prove you're Spider-Man. And he's like, you're a really untrusting person, but I get that and I respect it. And he puts his hand up and just fucking lifts his entire body off the ground with one hand held onto the ceiling. And she's like, crawl around. He's like, why do I gotta crawl around? She's like, crawl around, because this is not enough. He's like, this is plenty. I started dying when he said this is plenty. They like zoomed out and showed you this man with one hand latched onto a ceiling with his feet off the ground.
It really was enough. She was tripping.
She was tripping so hard. I thought that shit was so funny when she said it's not enough. I thought that was so fucking. He said this is plenty. I thought that shit was so funny.
Was it just me, or did it, like, when he first came out the portal, did he forget how to be Spider-Man or Peter Parker? It looked like he was just like had to get back into the groove and just like of being him. Or it's been a long time since I've seen his movies and how he acts as Spider-Man.
I don't remember
when Tobey Maguire came out. Yeah. Right. And maybe I just forgot, because when Tobey Maguire came out, he just Okay, cool. I
Yeah.
know.
Yes, I'm
That's
very
him.
clearly Spider-Man. Andrew Garfield he seems to be more of the science, like he's much more of a scientist than the other ones. And I mean, I do like that about his personality, but remember the first thing he said when he came through? He said string theory, matter displacement, and something else.
Yeah.
He said they're all real. He was more concerned about the way the universe operates than like anything else.
That's what's weird about him, because like Cam said earlier, like he's an emo nerd. Like he's too cool. Like he's super smart, but he never really feels like a nerd. Like he'll say nerdy stuff, but he'll do that while also being like a cool emo skateboarder. It's weird.
Like you gotta pick a side. When Tobey Maguire comes though, he is immediately worried about the young Spider-Man.
Yeah, he's like, I have to save him.
And he's also not in blatant costume and not revealing himself either. So I like that when he comes in, he's just like a regular person. He's like, oh, there was this, oh, it closed. And he's just kind of like looking at them like, I'm not going to tell you guys who I am or anything. And they even make a comment like, how come you didn't just say you were Spider-Man? He's like, I don't fucking go around advertising that.
Yeah,
so that was really cool. Then they have that little moment where like the web thing, Tobey Maguire tags him. But at the end of the day, it comes down to them saying, you know, he needs us right now. Where is he? Is there some place that he might be? And then they go to see him. And he's crying again. They hug him. And that part, the tears welled up again at that part. Because
that part was so good. Especially when you see them come up, like their silhouettes come up on top of the thing. And it's like, oh my God, this is so sick.
Yeah, that part is really cool. I like when, so for me, you go from crying. I went from crying from Aunt May dying. The scene right after that is the scene right after that is immediately them getting the other Spider-Man into the movie, which I think was an emotional scene for me too. So like I was still kind of emotional. So then when the scene then goes to Tom Holland crying on top of the building and you see MJ and Ned hugging him, I started to tear up again because he cries again. Like it kind of reopens all the wounds and he just starts crying really bad. But then they're like, yo, Peter, there's some people here. And he stands up in a defensive stance. He takes a I need to fight them off stance at first. He doesn't realize that when they say there's some people here that they're friendly and not foe. So when they jump down, he's like, whoa. Like, chill out. Stop moving so fast. Mind you, this is a kid who just got shot in the shoulder, got pile drive through 7 floors or something. And he's ready to fight again. He's like, fuck it. Like, it is what it is. Like, I'm just
ready to run the fade again.
Yes. He took a defensive stance. He's like, whoa, stay back, basically. But they come and they put their hands out and they're all understanding. Andrew Garfield tries to say, I know what you're going through, but he cuts him off immediately.
Yeah.
He's like, I know what he's like, don't say you know what I'm going through because you don't. And it's really funny because then Tom Holland goes, she died and it's all my fault. And the camera goes back to Andrew Garfield and he's tearing up and he looks down when he says, she died and it's all my fault. Right after him telling him, you don't know what I'm going through. Yep. I love that whole thing. The immature Spider-Man, the young Spider-Man, not realizing that other people may have gone through something too. Like you're not the only one who's lost. Really cool. Just juxtaposition right there. I really like that part. And then, he tells them, look, those fucking people, those villains, they come from your universe. I'm sending them back. And if they die, if you kill them, I don't care. Do whatever you want. They're your problem. I tried. I'm done. I'm fucking done. And he goes for the box. MJ doesn't give it to him. She's like, look, listen to what they got to say. And then they kind of explain like, yo, on the night my Uncle Ben died, like I went after the killer and I got what I was looking for. I hunted him down. It didn't make it feel any better. And then Andrew Garfield explains like, I lost my MJ. And it's this whole heartwarming moment where you get like even if you haven't seen the movies in a while, like I hadn't, it kind of reminds you of all the pain that they went through as well. Gwen Stacy dying and then, Uncle Ben dying. And basically because he let the criminal go free because the guy didn't pay him the right wage after his wrestling match or whatever. Yep. And that resulted, like, all of that shit comes back to you when they explain what happened in their verse. And Tom Holland's just kind of listening to them. And I think at one point, Tobey Maguire said something like, maybe she didn't die for no reason. Like, let's not make it in vain. And then it kind of goes to Tom Holland. It's so quick how he's back in good spirits. Like he's really a good hero at the end of the day, right? Like he said, I want to kill him. I want to rip him apart. And then after they kind of tell their stories about how this happened to them as well, and that great power comes with great responsibility. How did you know that? That whole scene, it goes to him in the lab and they're like, all right, look, I think I can fix them. But yeah, how did you guys feel about when the first time he meets the other two Spider-Man, they have that heart-to-heart session?
You go first, Kane.
I thought it was kind of special. Like you're not gonna get that too often in a superhero movie. Just meeting your other counterparts and them going through relatively the same trials and tribulations, but it's all different. Just Holland didn't have Uncle Ben, and just him losing in Aunt May, while I believe Andrew Garfield didn't lose Aunt May, but he still lost Uncle Ben, and
Yep.
they both had their MJs, and he had Gwen, but he lost Gwen, and then Tobey Maguire lost his Uncle Ben, but and Aunt May, I think she did die in one of the movies.
I
I'm
feel
not
like,
sure,
yeah, in
but
Spider-Man 3, I think she does die.
she was old as fuck. So yeah.
Yep.
Oh yeah,
She
she
was
did
old.
die because of the oldest Aunt May. But it was special to see them finally get it done, get all three of them together, and just like that. There's so many similarities, but there's so many differences at the same time. It makes everything unique, but all too familiar at the same time. So I thought that was probably one of the best scenes in the movie.
Yeah.
I heavily agree. I think the word you used is really good. It was special, and I got a very similar feeling to the first Avengers movie. I'm whatever, like the first Avengers movie, especially now in hindsight with all these other movies, right? There's a lot of Marvel movies way better, but there's something so special about the first scene where you see all the Avengers together, like on the big screen. Like you got Captain America, Iron Man, the Hulk, Hawkeye, Black Widow, Thor. The fact that they're all, the fact that Marvel pulled it off. Like y'all really got a high budget, well done Avengers movie, and you got all of these characters on the screen together. Like it was special. Like that's something that you didn't really think you were ever going to get to see done well, like in movies or done at all. So I remember the first time seeing that, thinking that was crazy, and then I felt a similar thing here, seeing these three Spider-Men from completely different iterations of the movies, different reboots or whatever, having them all brought together and like you said, the similarities and the differences all shown and them interacting with each other. It really was special.
Yeah. My nostalgia feeling was going nuts. Like the welling up inside of me was basically my childhood because I grew up on the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies, as all three of us have. We're all in that age bracket where that was our Spider-Man. Like some people's Spider-Man is actually Tom Holland. But like we grew up with Tobey Maguire. So seeing Tobey come out of that portal and then seeing him talk to a really young version of himself from a different verse, I just was, I don't know, man. It just took me right to childhood, and it was like, damn, this feels so good to just see.
Think about how crazy that is, right? Those movies came out when we were children, right?
Yes,
I
actual
was a
kids.
child
Actual
when that
kids.
came out. So just like how Infinity War, even if you have to watch bad movies for it to be even better, this movie is so fucking good. When you think about the fact, even though not on purpose, but this movie was 20 years in the making.
Yes.
In a way. You know what I mean? Like the fact that shit from, when did the first Spider-Man come out? The first Tobey Maguire movie.
Possibly.
Oh my God, is that real?
Like the fact that that comes all the way here to 2021, the end of 2020 is so crazy. And then even the Andrew Garfield movies, which are the worst ones, even how bad they are, I feel good and happy that I saw them.
Yes.
Because even though whether or not you like Andrew Garfield Spider-Man, in this movie, I loved him.
Me too.
Whether or not I liked him in his movies, I loved him in this movie.
I don't care for him in his movies, but I think that seeing his movies for the sake of No Way Home is amazing. Like you needed to see this movie. Actually, the people who benefited most from this were the people like us who started with the 2002. So the first one came out in 2002.
Okay.
Yeah, I looked it up. So people who saw, the movie that came out literally now 20 years ago, because we're going into 2022 now. So 20 years ago, like you said, this movie has been technically No Way Home is 20 years in the making. And, Infinity War and Endgame are 10 years in the making. Theoretically, like literally, this Spider-Man movie is more of a build-up than those movies in a way.
It's wild.
It is 20 years in the making of villains. Like they filmed 20 years ago. So it's crazy to think Tobey Maguire, who's 46 now, was like 26 when he first did Spider-Man. And now he's 46. And you can see the age on his face, which, it's like, okay, that's cool. Like he aged. But like, it's just, I don't know. It's crazy seeing them all on screen. And people who, like us who grew up watching that movie, I think that we felt that shit in the feels more than anyone else in that theater.
Yeah. Special is the best word for it because that's all. Like it's impossible to replicate that feeling. Even if an 18-year-old kid right now watches all the Marvel movies, it's still not going to be the same because he didn't watch Tobey Maguire and then go through fucking life. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
it'll never
like,
be the same than
we
for
saw
our
those
fucking nostalgia generation.
Yeah, like if somebody like if a kid who's like 13 said, okay, before No Way Home, I'm gonna binge watch all the Spider-Man movies because I didn't see the original Spider-Mans, like the Boomer Spider-Man movies. And they binge, like, you're not gonna get the same feeling that we got when the first Spider-Man movie in 2002 was groundbreaking.
Yeah.
That movie is groundbreaking. Like, I don't care how it aged. I haven't gone back and watched it as, you know,
it's still a decent film. It's still pretty good. Like,
yeah,
it's not bad.
Right. So, like, you know, greater movies have come out and all that stuff. CG has gotten better. Everything's gotten better. But for what it represented in 2002, groundbreaking.
You guys remember the poster? I had that poster on my fucking wall.
The one he's crawling?
On the building?
Yep.
Yeah.
That poster is legend.
Yes.
I think well, if you look at the instance where Kenny's talking about the Avengers forming together, and it's just groundbreaking to see Marvel's Cinematic Universe actually pay off, because you got the Iron Man, you got Captain America, Thor, Hulk. It was Hawkeye was in Thor, whatever, and Black Widow was in Iron Man 2. But
to see them all together.
They all came together. Like when the X-Men came out, like you didn't get that. It was just like, all right, it's an X-Men movie, whatever,
yeah,
cool.
Right.
But also with Spider-Man, you grew up with all these Spider-Mans, and just like this is the culmination of that. And I think the only one other thing can equal it, and I think Wolverine dying in Logan, because he's been Wolverine for so fucking long.
He has been Wolverine for a very long time.
And then now you're seeing this end, and he was Wolverine for like 15, 17 years, and you don't realize it until Logan comes out, and he's actually like dying. Like, this is it. This is the guy that doesn't die. He's the last mutant on Earth, whatever. You know, outlives a bunch of people, his teammates, enemies, all that. But you guys are seeing him dying, and you actually like growing up with him. I think the only bad instance was the Justice League coming together in Scott Snyder.
Actually,
even a remake. I mean, yeah, but there's no feeling there. Oh, Superman and Batman, Wonder Woman. Who gives a fuck?
What I mean by trash is that
don't fight that side. Yeah,
there was no build up. So I actually didn't even fully watch the Justice League movie because I just don't have any interest in it, because there was Man of Steel came out, and when Man of Steel came out, although I enjoyed that movie, it felt like, oh, Dark Knight was a dark, gritty world, so we have to make Superman dark and gritty. Yeah. Superman's never been dark and gritty, but whatever. The movie was cool. And then you got Batman versus Superman, and like that movie was terrible. And then you got the Aquaman movie, and then from there they just go to like Justice League. Wonder Woman didn't get her own movie first, as far as I know.
Yeah, I think it came out after.
Wonder Woman was after Justice League. The Flash didn't get a movie yet.
Flash still doesn't have a movie.
Flash still. So there was no build up to it. It wasn't special because you guys didn't build a DC universe for the Justice League to be special. You guys were just like, oh my god, Marvel's making money. We gotta fucking get on this train and play catch up.
Right. They rushed out some shit with no build up, and it didn't capture any of the magic that Marvel captured. So as far as the DC versus Marvel debate at this point, as far as I guess cinematic universes go, it's not close. I don't think anyone would be like object to that at this point. I think Marvel is very clearly established dominance in the cinematic universe realm. I know that like DC does really well with the animated movies, and their comics are still pretty good and stuff like that. But as far as the cinematic universe,
animated movies are legit.
Yes. As far as the cinematic universe, though, not even close. They are curb stomping at this point. They are just absolutely establishing dominance. Go ahead, Kenny. What are you going to say?
People might hate me for this, not including the Dark Knight trilogy, but that Aquaman movie, for as bad as it is the best DC movie.
I hate that movie.
Yeah, but it's better than. Is better than Batman versus Superman. Like, that movie is not good, but I found it more fun than all of the other DC movies I've seen. Like, it was just a fun movie.
I give Marvel credit for making Iron Man their debut movie and making Iron Man popular. But Iron Man was not a popular character.
He was not.
Believe it or not. No, I get two shit.
Yeah, Iron Man was not it. I actually grew up. So I've seen the Iron Man cartoon a little bit because it wasn't very popular. Like the cartoon wasn't even popular, but I've seen it as a kid. And even when I would watch all like X-Men, the original X-Men series, the original Batman series, Spider-Man, you know, the one, like I watched all of those as a kid. Iron Man just wasn't on par. I was never really interested in him. He just, like you said, he wasn't really cool. And they made Iron Man, he became the face of the MCU. Like Iron Man is bigger than Spider-Man in the MCU, which is crazy.
What's so weird to me is that what you guys are saying is true, but for a long time, I didn't know that. I got in an argument with one of my friends because he was like, yeah, that movie put Iron Man on the map. I was like, what are you talking about? Iron Man's always been the shit. He was like, no, because I grew up loving Iron, because I like the Iron Man cartoon, but I remember in all of the Marvel games, like Marvel Superheroes, Marvel vs. Capcom 1, like Iron Man was my guy. Like I
Right.
loved Iron Man and War Machine. So I grew up really liking Iron Man. So to me, he was always popular. But
Right.
like he wasn't.
Then
Like
you
I
re-
didn't realize he wasn't.
Yeah, he was not a thing. But yeah, I mean I grew up like me and you both grew up playing the fighting games like Marvel superheroes and X-Men versus Capcom and all that stuff and
Yeah. X-Men versus Street Fighter,
X-Men
like
versus Street Fighter. Yeah, so I've played a couple games where Iron Man's in it, Marvel's Capcom, obviously Marvel's Capcom 2, and I thought he was cool. I always like Proton Cannon, like his special was always cool as shit to me, especially because it has a hitbox when it spawns. Like when the cannon forms, it hits you and it hits you into the lasers. I always thought he was cool in that regard. And back when we were younger, like I would go to Galaxy and they'd be playing like Marvel's Capcom 2 and shit like that on the TVs. That was one of my original locals, Galaxy. And it just seeing War Machine and Iron Man, you would have thought that they were really, really popular because of how popular they were in those games. And I kind of know what you mean when you say that. At the same time,
yeah, like to me they were popular.
Yes.
I didn't realize till later that Iron Man wasn't popular. Like
right.
other people had to tell me. I was like, are y'all
like
for
if
real?
you walked out of a nerd store and Iron Man was not known to regular people. Whereas now the entire world knows who Iron Man is. Like any random Joe Schmo now that you walk up to in Center City, if you ask like who's Iron Man, they'd be like, oh, Robert Downey Jr. Or they would just even if they don't know that, they would know like, yeah, he's the guy in the superhero movies, the Marvel movies. Like they would know that at least. So yeah, I mean this No Way Home just does so much. It's like you said, the word special. It captures that so well. It does remind me of that scene in the first Avengers where they pan the camera around at all of them and how they do that in Endgame. They give us that. So it starts with that and they kind of end the Avengers series with that pan around. You get it again when they go back in time. Seeing all the Spider-Men together is really cool. They go to the lab. They start working on how to fix everybody. They all decide who's going to do what. And
why did they make fun of Andrew Garfield right there, Bob? When he goes to make Lizard Man's cure, he's like, yeah, I'll do this one. There was like a part where they throw shade at him again, and he's like, "What? Why are y'all looking at me?"
Yeah, he's like, I cured them already, and they were like, "Okay," and he's like, so it's not a problem, and they're like, "Okay." It was weird.
I was like, "Why's my man catching shots?"
Yeah, that part was weird, but yeah,
the only weird part to me was Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man in the lab. Like, what the fuck are you doing? You were taking pictures in your first movie. Don't do this.
That's true. That's true.
Let's not act like you was like in the lab just like doing shit. Yeah. I mean, it's easy to forget he was like that guy, but he was just like, that's what I'm saying. He's just like grown up in the first movie. And then that was my main problem. He had organic weapons. What the fuck are you in the lab for? Doing nothing.
Yeah.
And that's why Andrew Garfield being a scientist, like I said earlier, he's much more of a scientist. So when he's the only one who had a lab coat on. Did y'all notice that? Like, my man had a lab coat on. The rest of them were kind of working in their youth pastor clothes and shit. Like they were. So yeah, they started working on like ways to fix everybody. And at one point, Tobey Maguire says, I think I found a way to turn Norman back to normal because we're going to fix him. And you see Tom Holland is kind of quiet about that part. He mentioned everybody else, but he did not mention a cure for Green Goblin.
Yep.
So when Toby says that, he kind of looks at him in this way like, I'm not with that. And then Tobey Maguire reinstates and says, because that's what we do, right?
Yeah.
And he walks away. But that was like a precursor for the end of the movie. Like, I have no intentions of healing that man.
You want to talk about not holding back? I promise you, he was not holding back. Did you hear the sound of the booms every time he punched them in his fucking face at the end of the movie?
Yes. I like the entire sequence at the Statue of Liberty. I like that entire, like when they get to that part and you see them all kind of come together, like even before the fight, like the calm before the storm, where they all have that conversation about where the webbing comes from.
One of the best scenes. That's one of the best scenes in the movie. Just the three of them talking.
Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah.
And we kind of started the podcast off talking about that part, like, you know, who's cool, what villains have you fought, where does your webbing come out of, basically insinuating, does it come out of your dick? Like that whole thing. It's a lot of cool questions, and just like, that's what it would be like if you did meet other versions of yourself. Like, what's your life like? Like, how's it on your end?
Oh, you know what part made me legit laugh out loud? When Electro's like cured, when they cure Electro,
yeah,
and he's sitting there, he's talking to Andrew Garfield, and he's like, "Yo, man, you're from Queens." He's like, "You save poor people." I thought you were black.
That part was great. I wasn't
He's like,
ready
I
for
thought
that.
Spider-Man was black.
Everyone in my theater laughed. All 3 times. That got a laugh out of the entire theater all 3 times. And then what's funny is Andrew Garfield apologizes for not being black. I thought that shit was funny. I thought that was something about him saying, "Oh, I'm sorry." I thought that shit was so funny to me. Like when he says, "I'm sorry." Like, dog,
Oh,
you're
man.
apologizing because you're simply not black. Like you are a superhero and you've saved countless lives, but you not being black, you apologize. I thought that shit was hilarious. So yeah, that part's great. They have a whole, we don't have to rehash, but they have a whole part where they try to fight. They suck at it. They suck at coordination. They bring up the Avengers. Like, who the fuck is that? Because they don't
that
have.
part was funny too.
They don't have Avengers.
Yeah.
He's like, that's great. That's awesome. Who is that?
Yeah, and the other one was like, was that a band? Are you in a band? That's so cool.
Yeah, that was. And then like he says, like, I know how to coordinate. You're Spider-Man 2. You're Spider-Man 3. They say we got to take them out one at a time because they were trying to do multiple things at once, and it just wasn't working. They get their coordination out, and this is the part where, like, again, the theaters popped off. When they get the coordination right, they kind of run out at the same time, and they start doing web tricks. Like, they do some shit. I can't even really explain it. It's like one of them shoots a web that the other 2 latch onto and swing off of the web. It's really fucking cool.
The scene with all 3 of them, like, webbing in is so good. And then when they land, once again, special. When you see all 3 Spider-Man, they all land on top of that building in a different Spider-Man pose.
Yes.
Oh, man.
Really epic. Really, really nice shots. I loved everything about that whole sequence, that whole fighting part when they like, okay, let's coordinate right now. And at a point, Doctor Strange comes back finally because Ned opens up a portal. Also, the first 2 times I watched the movie, I didn't realize that Ned opened a portal just to shoot water at the lizard man.
Yeah.
Like, it didn't really occur to me that he attacked that man with a fucking portal. Like, it kind of made me think about how he probably... No, he actually didn't learn that from... I was going to say he maybe learned that from the blizzard that came through Bleecker Street. Like, he wasn't there for that part. Like, he wasn't... Like, when he said, like, that's what caused it, when Wong explained, like, that's what happened, he wasn't there. Like, Ned wasn't there for that. But he used the portal to attack Lizard Man. And that's kind of wild. Then he uses the portal again, and it opens up the Grand Canyon. And then you see Strange come through, and he takes back his ring and takes the box. And they're like, yo, wait, he cured them. And he's like, I'll be damned. But then...
Yeah, and then the part real quick with Ned with the cape on, with him floating with the cape, I was like, they really gonna turn this man evil. Like, what? Like, this is all, like, they're not playing around. Like, Ned's gonna have a cape and he's gonna be evil.
They wanted to drive it home that Ned is going to be, I mean, even a scene in the lab where he rolls his chair over to the best friend comment, like, that whole scene was funny when he said, I promise I won't kill you and try to kill you or whatever and be a villain. And then Tom Holland looks genuinely disturbed. He's like, okay. And everyone laughs. And then he does this really, I love Tom Holland's acting. He does this thing where he like looks at him, then he looks away, then he like looks at him again. It's so good. Like, just the quiet acting, just the facial expressions, you get the idea, like, what the fuck was that about? And then
they're a good act. I want to say, like, for example, we haven't talked about Zendaya at all, but just as an example of them being really good actors, the scene where they're FaceTiming and they're talking to each other and boo loving and shit, both excellent, like, acting like high school students. Like, when she's laying in bed, like, the way her eyes are moving and shit, like, it felt like you were watching 2 corny ass high schoolers talking on FaceTime.
I like that scene too. I know, yeah, that was really early when they were FaceTiming at night.
What's up?
It's like, was I that bad when I was younger?
Yo, we were all that bad. We didn't realize, but we were that bad.
Yeah, the cringe lines.
We were corny.
Tell me what you like about me.
Yeah, it was bad, and that's what I was like, man, they are really good actors right now because they're not just saying lines. Like, everything in their face and the way they're moving is fucking real.
I even like the way he's like looking up when he's thinking about what he likes about her. He like looks up, he like puts his eyes all the way up, and he's like, well, I like you're a people person. And she's like, oh yeah, I love people. And he's like, you're optimistic, and she's like, yeah, I'm a glass half full person or something like that. That whole the acting in that scene on FaceTime was really cool. Then I like how Happy kind of breaks the fourth wall. Like, because after seeing it so many times, I feel like he broke the fourth wall with that, which was really funny. Everyone laughed at it, but he goes, get off the phone. This isn't new. You're not breaking any new ground here. It was like he was talking to the audience. Like, we already know you two are in love.
We get it. You like each other.
Yes. He says you're not, specifically the part where he says you're not breaking any new ground. That was a fourth wall line. Like, that was talking to the audience of the movie. So I thought that was really cool. Going to the end, they have the whole, the chaotic fight scene. They start curing it one by one. Sandman's first. Then they get like the lizard man, and then they, This is when Dr. Octavius comes back in the picture and he grabs both the Spider-Men as they're being shocked by Electro. So it seems like, oh shit, he's back to evil. But then he kind of turns on Electro, pulls the core off his chest, and then replaces it with the thing that will suck all the electricity out of his body. They all get cured, and everything is going pretty well. Doctor Strange is back. They're all sitting on top of the Statue of Liberty, and out of nowhere, you hear, "Can the real Spider-Man come out and play?" And the fucking Green Goblin comes out of nowhere with all these bombs. And it's really cool. The bombs don't really do anything. He grabs the box and he starts to get away, and Dr. Octavius grabs the glider. You see Doctor Strange use the whip to grab the box, and then Green Goblin gets loose by doing a spin move on Dr. Octavius' arm and cuts it off, which I was like, holy shit, that's wild. But he uses the glider to cut the fucking one of the tentacles off. And when Strange has the box again, all three Spider-Man spider sense activates, all three of them.
They're like, whoa.
They all look over at Strange. And obviously, Tom Holland's the one who said, because he knows him. He's the one who's like, yo. And they zoom in on it and you see there's a little tiny bomb. That to me, the sneaky bomb tricks that Green Goblin does are
fucked up.
Amazing. Now, I don't know how this happened, but I'm just going to chalk it up to Strange being broken as fuck. That bomb does nothing to anybody. Like no one. Like that bomb that Strange was literally holding with his hands and like people were around, like surrounding it. Yeah. No one got harmed from that bomb.
It blows up the box.
Yes, but no one gets harmed by it, which I was like, wow. I thought somebody was going to be like, fucked up by that. I mean, what does happen, you get the scene where Mary J falls.
Yeah.
And Andrew Garfield gets his redemption. I thought that was cool.
Once again, that's a pretty
great.
It's not. Yeah, I don't want to say sad, right? Because I guess it's not. That's a scene that I did get a little choked up watching, right? Just because it's like, man, and you just see him. He's fucking like he's choking up and he's holding her like he fucking saved her. Oh man!
After the explosion, when MJ starts falling backwards and it goes in slow motion, right? It goes in slow motion. Tom Holland jumps after her. And he does a speed dive, and the glider, as they're about to grab, because their hands are like right there, and as they're about to grab hands, the glider just comes through, and everyone in the theater was like, yes, everybody in the theater was like, like there was a loud, visceral reaction to him getting like knocked away by that glider.
And then my man, I told this to you already, Fraser, but I want to say, I thought seeing that scene in the trailer, I was like, "Oh shit, that's where Andrew Garfield's that's going to be his reveal."
Yeah,
like that's where he's going to show up in the movie. Like Tom Holland's going to fuck up, not going to be able to save her. She's going to be about to die, and then out of nowhere, another Spider-Man's going to save her. Like that's where I thought he was going to come into the movie.
Yeah, that would have been a hype ass reveal though. I don't think that would have been bad at all. Like if the way Andrew Garfield, the Amazing Spider-Man, enters the movie is through that part, that would have been cool as shit. It would have even been cool. I'm adding more to this because I'm all nerdy, I guess. So when she's falling and Tom Holland Spider-Man is diving down to get her and the glider hits him, it would have been really cool if you would have saw above both of them, a portal opens up like a Doctor Strange portal. And that's when Andrew Garfield drops through that portal. And it's because Doctor Strange found these other two Spider-Men.
Yeah.
Like while he was, that would have been really cool.
And the only other part we would need is for Tobey Maguire to come down upside down and then start kissing on her. You know what I mean? Steal his girl.
That would have been crazy. Now we're talking about a different movie. That's the wrong. You're watching the wrong spot. You're on Pornhub with that one.
Look, they all got to get their shot.
I download it.
Yeah, every once in a while you download the wrong Spider-Man movie and it's like, hey, I'm here to deliver this pizza.
That's right. She's like, where's the organic web fluid come from?
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So after all of this, it's now breaking reality because the box exploded. So you see literally reality starts to break open. It goes from nighttime to like the sun is rising. So it looks really cool. And this is where Tom Holland finally gets his opportunity for revenge against Green Goblin. And boy, does he lose it.
Quick side note, because you can see all the silhouettes, those are supposed to be everybody in every universe that knows Peter Parker. I couldn't see all the silhouettes, but I think you can identify a lot of the silhouettes if you go back and look. Because I know one of them was Rhino.
Yes.
One of the silhouettes was blatantly Rhino.
He was in the front. He was very prominent. Another one of them had 6 arms. I don't know who that was, but he had 6 arms.
Yeah, so if you were to go back, you could probably see a bunch of Easter eggs.
It could have been Man Spider, or, they might have been teasing that. I don't know. But I know they had Scorpion in there on one of them.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool. They showed a bunch of different silhouettes. I mean, when a movie comes out in a really clear copy, I want to pause that part and really stare at it because all three times I made sure to focus on different parts of that scene so I could see if I could identify. Like the first time I saw it, I saw Rhino, but they also put him big and in the front. So they wanted us to see. They wanted everybody to at least be able to identify one of them. I thought, like that's how I felt about that. I was like, because even he said I fought a Russian guy in a mechanical suit, like in a Rhino suit. So when they show Rhino, I was like, okay, that's really cool. They put him in the front. He's really big. But reality starts to break apart. Spider-Man doesn't give a fuck about none of that. He just wants to kill Green Goblin. And they get into a fight, which at first it seems like it's the same as the previous fight, but Spider-Man turns up. I mean, it gets to a point where it's not close. And Goblin pulls out like a blade. And Spider-Man starts fucking him up, even with the blade and Goblin's arm. And he gets a cut off of, he cuts Spider-Man's arm, and Spider-Man, he makes this noise like he's pissed. And that's when he really is like, I'm fucking tired of you. Like, I'm sick of you. It's a very frustrated sound he makes.
He starts lumping him.
And that's when he just starts beating his ass. There's no more fight back. There's no more swinging. At that point, he literally just beats the dog shit out of him. And now Ned, MJ are watching, and the two Spider-Men are watching. And they kind of do a head nod as they watch him literally just off this man. He picks up the glider and he's doing that funny walk that I've seen that walk in other things where like somebody is losing their mind. They have that kind of one shoulder's higher than the other.
Yeah.
He has the glider and he's like, he looks really funny as he's walking towards them. You could tell he's not in his right state of mind, but when he comes to crash the glider down into Green Goblin's head to brutally murder him, Tobey Maguire just appears like he flash steps and just grabs it. And he grabs it so calm. Like the strength that Tobey Maguire must have, because remember, gravity is on Tom Holland's side. So he's coming down with the glider. And Tobey Maguire grabs it, raw hand, everything, and doesn't budge, really. Like he really doesn't.
I'm an OG.
And he stares at him in the eyes the entire time without saying a single word. He never says a single word. He just stares at him. And then Tom Holland comes back to his senses and...
Yeah, he just like slow down.
Yes. And then he gets stabbed in the back, which was, when I first saw it, I was like, wow, they're going to kill Spider-Man, which...
I was going to be upset, okay? I was like, they better fucking not kill him.
Yeah, I was like, that... You want to talk about unexpected? I did not expect him to get stabbed in the back and almost die like that. And then they make light of it. Like, he gets stabbed in the back, but it doesn't really amount to anything. He just gets stabbed in the back, and he even says, like, I've
been stabbed before.
Yeah.
I've been stabbed before. Yep.
Yeah.
And then when they're all standing up and Tom Holland walks away, Andrew Garfield's like, you're in a lot of pain, aren't you? He's like, oh, so much pain.
Yes. Spider-Man goes to see Strange, and he tells him, this is your fault. It's because, they're all trying to come through. I can't stop them. And he's like, it's all because of me, right? He's like, yeah, it's because of you. And he says, what if everyone forgot that I'm Peter Parker? Like, forget who Peter Parker actually is. So the first spell, because at first I was kind of like, isn't that the same thing? But the first spell was to forget that I'm Spider-Man. The second spell, the last spell, is to forget who Peter Parker is, period. Your existence as a person. In and out of costume, basically, is gone. Like, you are not associated with Spider-Man, but you're also not associated with who you are, period.
Yeah.
So
it's fucked up, man. To jump ahead, the scene at the very end of the movie is also just fucking heartbreaking when he's at Aunt May's grave and Happy comes up and they're standing there and Happy's like, how'd you know her? It's like, oh my fucking God, man.
Did you notice Tom Holland's eyes before Happy speaks? He kind of walks up on him and he's just kind of looking because he knows who Happy is, but he doesn't know how he doesn't know how the interaction's going to go. Yeah. So he's kind of like looking a little suspiciously, like, what the fuck? And then Happy, he goes into the, how'd you know her? That scene is really good. They also bring up Iron Man low key, which I thought was cool.
Yeah.
He says, a little while ago, I lost somebody really close to me. And you wonder if it was worth it, kind of thing. Like, you wonder if the work that they did it mean anything? But Spider-Man reassures him that, like, yes, it did. They don't, it meant something. But that scene's emotional. And then it goes to the cafe that MJ works at. And he's rehearsing before he gets there. He's rehearsing what he's going to say. He has this whole thing written out. And he gets there. And at first it looks like she recognizes him, but she recognizes Ned, who comes in. Ned walks right past him, doesn't say a single word to him. And you realize, like, holy shit, like, the wipe is real. Like, if the last scene at the gravesite didn't prove it, the wipe is so real.
It shit feels like a Thanos snap. Like, you know what I mean? Like, this now changes the Marvel universe going forward.
It does.
Now, all the Marvel shows can't acknowledge Spider-Man anymore.
Nope.
And all the movies won't be able to acknowledge. So it's super interesting that this is now going to have a long-lasting effect on the MCU.
Yes. Everyone theoretically has had their mind wiped. Everyone. So everyone that you watch from now on in any medium of Marvel does not know who Spider-Man is, which is actually crazy to think about. But yeah, it's I don't know, it's really, really good. When the acting on the scene in the cafe is phenomenal from both Zendaya and from Peter Parker, like from Tom Holland. They both, well, she genuinely looks like she doesn't recognize him. I don't know how she does it. Her acting is so good though, but she genuinely looks like somebody who has never seen this man in her life. Even the way he starts off saying, "Hi, my name is Peter Parker." Then he stops and she's like, "Okay." Like, because think about a person working at Dunkin' Donuts. If you walk up to them and say, "Hi, my name is Fraser Smith."
Yeah.
It's kind of like, all right. Like, so her reaction to that, I like to look at her face when he says, "Hi, my name is Peter Parker." And she's kind of like, "Okay." And then he says, "Can I have a coffee?" And then she's like, "Sure, Peter Parker." And she goes and grabs a donut. She gives the donut to Ned. And then she makes his coffee. And he's watching her the whole time. Like, he's really like staring at her. And then he stares at Ned for a while. And they start talking about MIT. And he realized that they got into MIT, which is really cool as well. So now you know they're going to the same school together. And he's, you saw him, and when he was moving into his apartment, he has a GED study guy going for himself. Like, he's alone now. You realize his aunt really is dead. He doesn't live with his aunt anymore. He's in some really rundown apartment. Like, it looks fucking awful.
I think it's his apartment. I think it's the apartment him and his aunt originally had.
Okay. Yeah,
that's the vibe I got, that he went back and got his Aunt May's original apartment.
Okay. Yeah, it's really run down.
It was a takeaway from not the first Spider-Man movie. The guy rent dudes on the first.
Don't be late.
It might be a throwback from the original movies.
Okay. Yeah, that apartment looks terrible. And so when he's like watching MJ interact with Ned, he's happy. And MJ comes over to him with the coffee. And he's still staring at Ned. Like, he's literally just staring at Ned. And she like gets his attention. He's like, he breaks out of it because he's so happy that their lives are better.
Yep.
Which is all he set out to do from the scene on the bridge. Like, he never cared about his own life. He really wanted it for them. So when he sees, go ahead.
I was going to say, this is one of those moments where it shows how much of a hero Peter Parker is and how good of a hero and character Spider-Man is. This is one of those moments where like what superheroes are supposed to aspire you to be. Because this is it's super selfless. This is where going in, he didn't realize, but this is where he decides like, oh, their lives are better without me.
Yep.
Their lives are better. I'm not ruining their lives. And then he decides to like shoulder the pain, shoulder the world, and not go about putting himself back in their lives, because he knows that if he puts himself back in their lives, he's just going to bring hardship to them.
I actually like that you said that. I could not have said that better. He realizes that their lives are better without him.
And it's just, whenever I see, like, to me, that's what superhero stuff is kind of all supposed to be about. When you, like, in general, I don't like Superman, but because he's just kind of boring. However, in the few arcs or movies or whatever that you get to see where you see sort of where Superman goes into like what it means to be Superman, it's like, man, I really like that. Like that aspiration part.
Right.
And that's what I really enjoyed about there at the end with Spider-Man. It was like, this is what it really means to be a hero right here. It's not
sacrifice.
It's not all that other shit. Yeah, it's this moment right here is what being a hero is.
Yep. That is sacrifice personified. You know how hard it is to lose your girlfriend and your best friend? Like, think about that. You lose both of those things. And you lost your aunt too. You're actually, his situation is so scuffed. He's alone in the world.
Period. He has
no one knows him. Not even strangers. Yeah. No, like literally.
I did want to ask this, both of y'all. Was this movie Tom Holland Spider-Man's greatest test?
For me, yes.
Yeah, I think so. I hesitate to answer because we are yet to see the next movie, obviously, but the next movie might end up being "quote unquote" the greatest. Like the aftermath of this might end up being like that test, so to speak.
Yeah.
But what we've seen so far in this movie, this is where he grows up.
Well, choosing because Doctor Strange did not want to do that spell at first. He didn't. He said no. He literally said no. So like forcing that spell on Strange, like choosing to do something so ridiculous as to make it where you are completely alone in the world. That decision making, when you really think about it, that is hard to do. That is like gut wrench to lose every single relationship you have in the world.
Yeah, so far for everything this Spider-Man has been through, because this is where he grows up. This is where he is now truly in position to become the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Like all the baggage is gone, his mentors are gone. Nobody remembers him. Like he's now officially in the position to become the real friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, and he's growing forth and going forward. He has nothing tethering him back anymore.
Yeah, this whole movie is a great test of his character. Like I said, the bridge scene is really good where he doesn't care about himself, and the lady says, "No, I'm going to talk to him about you and your friends. Like, I want to be clear here. You deserve nice things too. Like you are." She says, "You are a hero," and I feel like that is like the overarching theme of this. Like, you deserve, even though he chooses to live a life pretty much as of right now, he's living a life of solitude. Like, you don't know anyone, like no one.
Yeah.
And he tucks the note in his back pocket, like he puts it away. They kind of zoom in on it. Man, that decision was so hard. Then she kind of stares at him because he's staring at her, and she says, "Anything else, Peter Parker?" And he's like, "Nope."
Yeah, and then it's interesting though, because as the conversation goes on, and he's like finishing her sentences, it starts to look like she has feelings for him and doesn't even understand why she has feelings for him, kind of.
Yeah, she even says something about, it's something about the MIT thing. She says like, "This was really important to me, but I don't remember why."
Yeah.
So like, there's a memory there, but not quite. Like, there's a feeling there, I should say, but not a memory.
Yeah.
He says like, "Are you excited about MIT or something like that?" And she says, "It meant a lot to me, but I'm not sure. I don't remember why," like, or something like that. But yeah, it's really, and then so, go ahead. What were we going to say, Cam?
Yeah, I was just going to say again, she kept the necklace that she did have far from home. So that's the only factor, a redeeming fact. That's the only factor that she could remember. And then Peter still has the Palpatine Lego that Ned gave him in
they zoomed in
first
on it.
movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that they did zoom in on that little. Yeah, that's actually a good point. They did zoom in on like these little artifacts that they have between each other.
Also fucked up though, in hindsight, Ned gave him a Palpatine Lego. So
Yes. And Palpatine is a guy that went from good to bad.
So, hindsight that's fucked up.
He seemed to go from good to bad. The last scene I think is phenomenal. I think the way the actual movie ends, sometimes these Marvel movies do not actually, like, that last scene is not really that good. I think the last scene of this movie was another scene where I got emotional. It shows him in his apartment and they zoom in on his desk and he has a sewing machine and you can see scraps of a costume, and he opens the window after like looking at he's clearly hacked the fucking police radio again. They show him go out the window and he's wearing the original Spider-Man costume. Finally.
Yeah.
And
finally.
The graphics on that scene, because it's like snowing, it's like Christmas. Mind you, my man's spending Christmas alone. So again, just to think about how hard this decision is to make everyone forget you. He's spending Christmas alone, but he jumps out the window and he starts swinging around. The music they play and the way the costume looks on Tom Holland, or like the CG or whatever, phenomenal. I love him just swinging around. And they don't, how at the end of the Tobey Maguire movies, it will be a monologue. Tobey Maguire will start talking as he's swinging. Mm-hmm. Like he all the movies ended with him speaking. Tom Holland doesn't say anything. It just goes off with the music playing and him swinging through the city and seeing everybody ice skating below him and shit. I love that. With the original costume on, and that really bright blue and that really bright red. So good.
It was, once again, it goes to show that all three of these movies were the prologue, and it's really, because he started off, before he met Tony Stark, he was still in like the bullshit costume, the fucking gym wear.
Yes. He doesn't get his real costume until the end of No Way Home. 3 movies in, and several other movies in too.
I have to ask, because I know Cam is a Cam has a Spider-Man tattoo. So like finally at the end of this movie, seeing him in the OG Spider-Man outfit, like how does that feel?
That was probably one of the best parts, because he never wore it in any of it was always some crazy colorway, crazy high-tech rendition. It was just like, he got the spider armor before he got the original costume. I was like,
that's fucking crazy. Like, that actually is crazy.
My man
got like the Iron Spider. Yes. He was the Iron Spider before normal Spider-Man.
My man has nanotechnology as like his first suit. I'm like, what the fuck? It is cool to see him go back to just a regular sewn costume.
Yeah, I highly appreciated the regular OG. Like Spider-Man got like 50 costumes, but that's still the best costume he's ever had. The original OG over Black and White, over Iron Spider, over Scarlet Spider,
Yeah.
So
all that shit. But that was it. That was the one right there.
So after the movie ends, the symbiote is left behind as Venom gets snapped into his multiverse. He gets snapped back to his multiverse.
Yeah.
So now you're gonna have Venom.
Funny.
Yeah, you're gonna have Venom. Is Venom the Flash guy? Is that who becomes Venom?
No, not Flash Thompson. Venom is Eddie Brock.
Yeah.
They don't have Eddie.
They don't have
they're gonna get an Eddie Brock.
Yeah.
They're gonna get one, I guess.
Yeah, maybe he's a freshman in college. Maybe he's a.
Yeah.
I think he's gonna be a college guy, and maybe he'll like MJ too. I'm making my own storyline here.
I thought it was cool. I actually haven't seen. I got to go back and watch the Venom movie. I think I'm going to go back. It's been a long time. I'm probably going to end up rewatching all the Spider-Man movies now, though, just because.
I want to watch them too.
I haven't seen the Venom movie yet. I just heard the Eminem song where he goes Venom a bunch of times.
It's not. The movies are not. The Venom movies are awful.
But so I don't know if they. I don't know if they addressed this in the Venom movie, but I thought it was cool in the after credits scene where he was like, where he says like, "Oh, you thought Lethal Protector was a dumb name," because that's like Venom's sort of title is the Lethal Protector. So I thought it was cool that they said that. I don't know if they cover that in his movie or not.
Yeah, I mean, those movies are just trash. But
Rip.
you know, they're worth watching just to say you watched everything in the MCU, because that Tom Hardy, the guy who plays Venom, Eddie Brock or whatever, he is part of the MCU clearly, and you know,
bring that. Do you think? Yeah, I don't know. I wonder if freshman year is going to. I wonder if Venom's going to be the villain, or if they're going to like maybe he'll be the villain in the second one or something.
Yeah, it's interesting because it could, now that we saw the symbiote at the end, it could very well be Eddie Brock is a college student. I'm thinking that's a nice setup. A college student who likes MJ. That would be really cool.
They could really fuck you up and make it so that Eddie Brock becomes Peter Parker's friend, and then Ned becomes the villain first, and Eddie Brock and Peter Parker walk together to beat Ned, and then Eddie Brock becomes a villain. That'll be fucked up.
So is that guy the Flashpoint guy or whatever? Is he anything? Like is he?
Oh, Flash Thompson? Yeah. He's Peter Parker's original bully in school.
Oh.
Yeah, that was like the Spider-Man's greatest. They got Flash right. His original bully, and then Spider-Man's greatest fan. Then he becomes Venom. Somewhere down the line, he's Agent Venom.
Wait, he does become Venom?
Yeah, he becomes a version of Venom. Yeah, he loses his legs, and then he becomes Venom.
Oh.
And then he's Agent Venom. He's working for the government. It's a whole thing.
Okay, so I was like, am I crazy? Like, does that kid become? So he might actually become Venom.
Yeah, they might skip Eddie and just make it him. Real quick, this is slightly off topic for this movie, but do you guys think, this is obviously completely theory, do you guys think this movie was partially inspired by the Into the Spider-Verse? Do you think they were like, you know what, like we can do this live action after, because Into the Spider-Verse was super highly regarded, well received everywhere.
I do think that.
They took that movie and they were like, you know what, we're gonna fucking do this.
I really do think that.
Yeah, it was a test run, so if we could do it with this, I think we'll pull off a live action one.
Yeah. Like, I think that put the idea, holy shit, we have, first of all, the multiverse already exists as a thing, right? So it doesn't, it's not some like weird, why are these guys in this movie? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
The idea of the multiverse being real in the MCU is already a thing. And then seeing how well Into the Spider-Verse performed, also when Jamie Foxx says like, I really wish there was a black, I know there has to be a black Spider-Man out there somewhere. Like obviously that was a little call out to Miles. I do think that it was inspired by it because it seemed to come right after. It just seems like the next logical step after Into the Spider-Verse did what it did, which is win a lot of awards, highly acclaimed movie. Really, really good movie.
I'm really happy they pulled it off. Because I remember even back then I started to hear rumors like the next Spider-Man live action is going to be Into the Spider-Verse. And I was like, yo, if they do that, that'll be crazy.
Yes.
That was rumored way back. Then when we started seeing the old villains, I was like, oh my God, are they really fucking doing it?
Yeah, I didn't believe it, honestly. Even when I
didn't either.
When the rumor mill started to happen, I was like, this is the same as Kingdom Hearts 3. Like, this is vaporware. It's not actually real. Don't get your hopes up is how I was carrying it. Because I didn't think it was possible to get all of these people to come back and be in one movie, but they found a way to pull it off, and Marvel has just been able to pull off some fucking phenomenal things. Doctor Strange was amazing in this movie. All of the Spider-Men were amazing. All 5 of the villains. Like, The end credits with Venom was pretty cool because they explained like Thanos and everything like that. And then the trailer for the next Doctor Strange movie.
Yeah, and then showing Scarlet Witch again.
Yep, and she's like,
and then making it like a real thing, like no questions. The TV shows are 100% going to have impact on the movies. Because I know some people are saying the TV shows are just like there's some people that for whatever reason were making the argument that the TV shows aren't going to have a big impact on the movies. I was like, I don't think that's true.
It seems like you need to see the TV shows.
I mean, Loki has a direct impact on.
Yeah, it really does. Yeah. So
yes, Loki has a direct impact on the entire future of the MCU.
So Hawkeye is literally in the same timeline right now. They're doing Christmas with Hawkeye, and they was just getting into Christmas with Spider-Man, and they're in the same city. Like the fuck.
Yeah.
I'm very confused why people just don't understand what's going on. But
Cam, Fraser will tell you. You want to talk about being confused? We're in the fucking movies. The movie ends. Like, the credits just start, and people get them and start leaving the theater. I looked at Fraser, and I said a bad word I'm not allowed to say publicly anymore. But I said, are they Pop-Tarts? I was like, are these people Pop-Tarts?
And I pointed to them and said, amateurs.
How old is Marvel? How are you leaving when the credits start?
Red flag. That's a red flag.
That is a red flag.
I couldn't believe it.
I'm still in that camp, by the way. I'm posting it on social media. When they start to get up and walk out of the theater after the credits start rolling for a Marvel movie, and I just red flags across.
My closing statement, real quick, I guess, before y'all wrap it up.
Yeah.
I guess all the way in the beginning, when you did Civil War and Spider-Man debuted, goggles, sweatpants, ski mask, everything Kenny said, right? And he was a pawn in that movie. Like he was a pawn, Iron Man, and then as became an Iron Man fanboy. I get that, but he doesn't have the Uncle Ben with that. That's just completely like
there's
written
no
off.
depth to Spider-Man at first.
He's just there. He's a kid. He got these powers, and this is it. Now, Homecoming, he's there. He's being a kid, still trying to be Spider-Man, and then he immediately goes into fighting the Vulture, and the Vulture realizes he knows his identity. So it's already his first test. It's doing what every Spider-Man has to do, is balancing fighting a villain that knows his identity, that is related to a person he knows.
Yep.
So that's automatic test number one for Spider-Man. Then he goes straight into outer space. Well, he doesn't have to, but gotta fight an intergalactic tyrant alien, dies, comes back, proceed to fight some more in another intergalactic war, loses 5 years of his life, and people don't realize he's coming back. It's 2024. He's technically like an adult. He's older than, well, technically he's older than his peers, but we don't know if they got blipped either. So that's neither here nor there. So he takes a vacation, meets Mysterio. Mysterio becomes his mentor for a majority of the movie because he knows how to balance.
Before Mysterio becomes, like, when he comes back, that's when Tony Stark dies, right? Tony Stark dies a day later after he comes back.
Right.
Not even a day later, I'm sorry. An hour later. Tony Stark dies an hour later after he comes back.
Right. Loses his mentor, tries to see Mysterio as a mentor to see how you can balance both lives. He's revered as a hero. He takes off his mask. Everyone knows his identity. But he can't do that yet as Spider-Man. So he becomes a fraud. He almost headshots him, tries to kill him. So he already has trust issues there. And then not even a week later, not even a day later, as soon as he gets back into the city, everybody knows his identity. And now he's going through this existential crisis of losing Aunt May. So one person in his life that he knows and gets help from the other two Spider-Mans. But now in the movie, he's actually by himself.
Yes.
He has nobody to look to.
This is crazy.
He thought he was by himself in Far From Home, but he wasn't.
Yeah.
Now he's really by himself. This is no help, no nothing. This is all on you. Take all those lessons you took from those 5 other movies, and this is you going on and moving forward. So you don't need an uncle. If you don't need an Uncle Ben, if you're going through all that,
100%. Yeah, I agree. It's amazing. I agree with everything you just said. I'm so excited for what the future of this Spider-Man is, because I think the actor is great, and I think everything they put him through was so good, and then they were able to allow him to grow from all of that, and then put him back, because he's back at square one now, where nobody knows where he is, and it's done in a way where it does not feel forced or cheesy, or you know what I mean. Like somehow they made Spider-Man go through hell and still put him back at square one, and it all feels legit.
Yeah. I also like that they seized all of the Stark technology too. Like casually in No Way Home, the FBI just seized the Stark technology, but Happy stole the fabricator, which got destroyed. So like they're trying to slowly remove Stark from the Spider-Man picture, which I think is necessary. Let him exist on his own, which is why that end scene was really emotional for me and you guys as well, because it symbolizes him finally separating from just being a fanboy and getting everything that's Spider-Man about him from Stark.
Mm-hmm.
Like even in this whole movie, everything he did in this movie, every technology he has is Stark or Doctor Strange magic.
Yeah.
Like now he's going to be wearing a costume that he made himself. I don't know. Yeah, like it's really cool to see like the way they showed the trucks coming out of the Stark building with all, you know, they theoretically had all the technology and shit in there. So like now we can rest assured, like, okay, we don't have to worry about every Spider-Man movie going forward being him with all this high tech shit going on. There was even a little scene where when he went on the bridge, it says Stark network offline.
Mm-hmm.
So like,
yeah, he's back to basics now.
Yeah, throughout the movie, they started to slowly strip away the Stark stuff. Like I noticed that when the facial recognition thing wouldn't work, I said, "Oh shit, the FBI like cut that shit off." So it's kind of cool that I feel confident going into this next trilogy or whatever it's going to be, that he's going to be this more of a Spider-Man that we really know, like more, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and people had a lot of gripes about Homecoming because he felt like a sidekick in his own movie.
He did feel like a sidekick. I definitely felt like, well, Iron Man blatantly stole the show at a couple points. Like, remember with the cruise ship? Yeah. He fucking just shows up and he fixes it. All the boosters put the ship back together. Like the boosters come in. I was like, yo.
But what makes that so cool now, like when you put that all together in hindsight now, yeah, he kind of feels like a sidekick in his own movie, although he gets, you know, a great third act to himself, which I thought was done well. All these movies, they really build on, like everything Cam was saying, how the movies build on each other and how he thought he was alone and Far From Home and how that is all built up to now No Way Home. And in No Way Home, he thought at the start of that movie, he was like, oh my fucking God, like this is horrible.
Yeah.
And now to all of that kind of come full circle. Like the start of that movie is everybody on the planet knows who you are. And the end of that movie is nobody knows you exist.
Yep. So that No Way Home is easily top 3 for me. I might put it over Endgame. I just have to compare them more. I've only seen No Way Home 3 times. Infinity War is unshakable for me. That movie's not moving out of that number 1 spot. Like I love No Way Home. It's a phenomenal movie. One of the best movies I've ever seen, period. Not even just superhero movie, but Infinity War is the best superhero movie I've ever seen. And No Way Home is right now number 3 behind Endgame, just because of that last 30 minutes Endgame. But it's very possible that because of the 20 years of buildup for No Way Home and just the way I felt the first time seeing No Way Home, the feeling that it gave me the first time I saw it was so intense. Like, I don't know. It's hard to say. Like, honestly, rankings don't even fucking matter. All 3 of those movies are insane movies. It really doesn't matter. I know people love to rank. I love to rank things too, but at the end of the day,
it's fun. It's a fun little nerd argument.
Men love to rank things in general, but at the end of the day, all 3 of the movies are really, really fucking good. And No Way Home delivers on all cylinders. Like, pretty much a perfect movie. It's very close to being a perfect movie. The way I feel about Infinity War being a perfect movie and like Endgame is really, really good as well.
I don't really have any gripes. I can't think of a gripe with No Way Home.
Yeah, I have to watch it again.
Like, that doesn't mean, once again, I think I said this with Shang-Chi. Like, for example, I guess this is a good example. I think I like No Way Home more than Shang-Chi, right? That said, when I watched Shang-Chi, I really liked the movie. And I think I said in that review, I have no gripes with this movie. It doesn't mean it's the best movie of all time.
It doesn't, yeah.
But I personally don't have any gripes with it. I like it.
Yeah.
Same thing with No Way Home. This doesn't mean it's the greatest movie of all time, but I don't have any gripes with it. And that said, I do like it more than Shang-Chi.
Yes.
I think I would also probably put it top 3.
Yeah, I don't think top 3. That's not even a hot take. I don't think that's a hot take. Like, and it's not even a recency bias. I think that the movie, because it's the latest Marvel movie. Let's be clear. You know, it has all of the production, all of the directing, all of the acting, and everything from all of the prior Marvel movies culminated into like the best that they can be. Yeah, like Marvel knows what works by the time No Way Home came out.
I'm not sure what the 5th in my top 5 would be, but the other movie that would be in my top 5 would be Winter Soldier. And then off the top of my head, I don't know what the fifth would be. I'd have to look at them all again.
Me too, because there's a lot, and it's not crazy for you not to know. Because I had a hard time naming my top 5 as well, and I still don't know if it's like Thor Ragnarok or Civil War. Like I have no idea which one I like more. But yeah, that pretty much wraps up this episode of the IMNerd podcast, guys. Write into imnerdpodcast@gmail.com and let us know what you think about No Way Home. I'm assuming if you listen to this episode, you have seen it. Let us know what you think about all the shit that we talked about.
I hope you already watched the movie.
Yeah, I would hope that you didn't let this, because this episode is full of spoilers. So I assume you did. But before we go, as always, I want to give a quick shout out to our patrons, and we have a new one. So we have Connie, Austin, Leon, Quest, Garen, Xavier, Hylian, TCG Automotive, Silver Chronic, Tyree Tinsley, Dimitri Barnes, Alexander Brissett, Vinny Casello, Dominique Roberts, Giovanni Avalos, Game Freak Yoshi, Alex Flamer, and last but not least, our newest patron, Michael Askew. Thank you all so much for supporting I Am Their podcast. We really appreciate it. It goes a long, long way. So,
hell yeah.
We're really happy about that. Join our Patreon. We drop exclusive episodes every month. We also have video versions of the podcast if you guys actually like to, if you want to watch us actually talk to our expressions when we're laughing and shit, and you really don't get all of that from the audio. Subscribe. And we have a bunch of different things for all the different tiers on our Patreon. So check it out. Let us know what you think about Spider-Man. And if you just have anything else you want to talk about, send it into the I Am Their Podcast Gmail, and we'll read it aloud on the show.
Yeah.
Also, Cam, shout out your socials and like what you have going on.
I mean, just come like the Facebook page, Blur Cartel. So it's on Facebook. So it's Instagram is Blur_Cartel_IG, and then TikTok Blur Cartel. And you can watch me and my co-host on Baychan. It's Tuesdays at 7 on Lord Approved Entertainment. You can watch it on the Facebook page and YouTube. So that's it. And I appreciate coming on, talking that Spider-Man with y'all.
Yes.
Hell yeah. Dude, I would love to talk. I know you and me might end up seeing Eternals on the same day. So if you want to talk about Eternals with us, that's fine with me.
Just let me know. I'll come back on.
All right, guys. Well, as I always say, do the things that make you happy. And yeah.
Hell yeah. So long, Gay Bowser.